Cool. We're going live, Mike.
Yeah,
Yeah. How are you, man?
I'm pretty good. I
Let
can't
me test.
complain.
Let me test our systems here. Yeah. Keep playing.
Let's hear
Facebook.
it for the live
Hey.
stream.
Hey.
Facebook, where you at?
It's working. It's working. I'm gonna hit. Let's hit record on this one. It'll.
Yeah, the phone dropped.
Yeah, it works. It all works. The system works, and today we're on Facebook for the first time in a while. Man, Facebook is a pain in my ass, but we got it. We got it set up. I haven't been able to stream here in a while. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a dear and old friend of mine here today. We first met. Oh my God, when did we meet? With the Les Claypool tours, probably, right?
Yeah, I would say it was 2003 when Project Object opened for the Purple Onion version of
Purple Onion.
the Flying Frog Brigade.
That's right.
Yeah.
As any of you know, Les Claypool has any number of bands at any number of times. And Mike was in the band, and we opened up, and we became fast friends. And Mike, I've toured with Mike about 3 times. I've sat in with him countless times. We've done a lot of music together, a lot of touring with Don Preston. So we've done a lot. And, yeah, and so that's the connection. But more importantly, if you don't know this man, you're going to check him out today, and we're going to talk a little bit about his journey and what he's doing right now music-wise. And let me just make sure this feed is going. Yeah, and if you don't know Mike's music, go to MikeDillonVibes.com. You know, that is, I put that right in the chat right now. MikeDillonVibes.com is Mike's site. Everything is there. You can find his music, history, bio, what he's doing. He's always involved in half a dozen things. He's a true world percussionist. And I say that because I've seen him play percussion that originates in Africa. All percussion really originates there because all humans do. But I've seen him play percussion that originates, yeah, more or less. But I've seen him play percussion that originates, and Steve Hirsch is saying I need more volume. He's played instruments from Asia, from South America, from the Afro-Cuban strain, from Ireland, from Poland. He plays instruments that he shows me from Eastern Europe, from, you know, everywhere, man, everywhere on the planet. You know, native.
You have a better
tribal.
memory than me.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And you just heard him playing the tabla as we came in. So he's a percussionist, a sound designer. He's all kinds of things. You're going to learn it today. Mike Dillon, how are you doing right now?
All things considered, I'm doing pretty good, especially considered since I have what I would say, an asymptomatic case of COVID. The only thing that's hit me is the lack of smell. And that happened on Saturday night. There was one day right at the beginning I didn't feel right. But since then, I've felt fine, especially since I think it's because I did the vaccine and then the monoclonal therapy was available here in New Orleans. I went and did that. I've been taking all my herbs and vitamins and all the shit you take every day anyway, long before this thing started, if you're a person that cares about your health. And, I work out and even though, I've been staying inside my little tabla, I'm hiding out in this little room. We live in a very small apartment in New Orleans. So
Okay.
the wife is out there
Okay.
where it's nicer. But so we just tested again. I'm still testing positive, but it's crazy. We've been wearing masks and, staying apart from each other, but taking walks outside. She's still negative,
What?
which says a lot about the vaccine or
Sure.
whatever it says something. Because,
Yeah.
I just hugged a dude the other day who had it, and that's how I got it. Literally a 2-second hug. It's just weird. Like, who knows what was going on with my immune system at the time.
Sure. Well,
but anyway, blah, blah, blah. That's what's going on in my world, but I'm just using it to practice and write, and I've been reading and doing the things you do when the universe says stop.
So much packed into that, my brother. Man, let me try to go back and unpack a few things. So first off, you are a living example of the math. And I want to bring up to people that if you've been watching my show, I've been talking about this since March of 2020, right when it started. I started streaming, and right away, and Mike, you've been on a couple times and we've talked about this. Right away, I said something you just mentioned, which is it's about starting out with a good immune system, right? Just starting out with a good, taking care of yourself. We're on this show all the time talking about at least predominantly plant-based diet, right? I mean, my whole show is about, hey, folks, 1 day a week, 1 of 7. You got 7 days. Just take one of them and don't have meat. It's not, if we start there. And so the plant-based thing, but also getting on a program of some vitamin C, some zinc, some antioxidants, some minerals. I've talked about this for a year and a half, and I think what you just said kind of proves this, that part of the picture is that. And then you also said that you've been vaccinated, which again, clearly getting the almost no symptoms. We've seen this over and over and over in the millions of people now around the earth. Maybe it's into the billions. I don't know. But I want to talk about that specifically because I had a young man on here last week, and we kind of segued from natural food and everything into vax talk. And this young man was not vaccinated. He thinks the virus isn't really a virus, et cetera, all kinds of things. The vaccine gives you the virus. There's all kinds of stuff. So I want to go through some things here. And then you said another thing, and I want you to go over all these things. The math of your dear wife hugging you and testing negative.
Well, she hasn't hugged me. We've been, really careful.
Nearby.
But I my buddy, who I'm pretty sure I caught the shit from.
That was the hug. Sorry.
He's a drummer, and we played in Austin, so that would be nearly 2 weeks ago. This coming Wednesday, I came into contact with him, and I got a text from him on Friday saying he had tested positive. So that's the cool thing about communication and testing, because had I not known, I would have just thought, oh man, I'm just feeling like the seasonal whatever, allergies or whatever. I had a little headache for like a day or two. And literally like now I'm completely fine. Yeah. Like, except for I can't smell anything. Like I feel great, but because I got tested, I'm hiding out and I'm not spreading it to people.
There you go.
Like, which is really what this thing's about. And the numbers are dropping.
Yep.
So, I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, I've been doing the health food thing. I started eating vegetarian back in 1989.
Wow.
And for a good 11 years, I was strict vegetarian.
Right.
And then I remember I was in Tokyo and I broke down on some sushi. And then that's when I think I moved towards being a pescatarian.
Sure.
But, every time I go shopping at Whole Foods or the local co-op, it's always a big thing of tofu and tons of tempeh. And, I still mainly eat a vegetarian diet because that's what makes me feel better for my health.
Right.
And then if you did like that, I went to like the third Whole Foods on the planet. You used to own a supplement shop.
Yeah, natural
And
food store, sure.
Natural food store.
Yeah.
And I find the whole COVID vaccine argument to be the most interesting in what I would consider us people that consider ourselves to be holistic
Sure.
fans, people that do things holistically. Like, I could go on and on about my personal beliefs, but when this thing happened on the global scale that it did, and the suffering it caused, and the deaths it caused, and I was able to go, this is not just a fucking cold. That's what pisses me off about a lot of my holistic friends. It's like, no, you're wrong. It's not just a cold. It's different. And me losing my smell and taste proves there's something different going on here. So, and we have a social contract. And believe me, there was a huge part of me. It's just like, man, I get my supplements from the biggest anti-vaxxer on the planet, according to the New York Times. Personally, I'm not even going to say his name. I think he's brilliant when it comes to supplements and nutrition.
Oh,
I take
the guy from New York? Yeah.
I'm going to leave him out of it because I don't even want, because you know what? It's like I can do critical thinking. It's like I get the best supplements in the planet from this guy.
Yeah. He's great.
Now, let me tell you though, when I think like just some people have lost their mind over the vaccine. It's like we've been around vaccines for fucking ever.
230 years.
Like why all of a sudden is Bill Gates trying to kill us all? Why all of a sudden are they obsessed with the global reset? You know what? Like, just go back to being, let me break it down. Some of these motherfuckers are so great and gifted at what they do, but I think if Edgar Casey, instead of mentioning Jesus Christ, let's say, like if Edgar Casey came back for the grave and some of these people, like I learned my stuff from, they were so non-judgmental and so non-political about healthcare. They took their oath serious just to heal you. Like I was a strung out heroin junkie, and this woman who was 89 years old, who'd never been sick, but once in her life did nothing but natural stuff, got me over a fucking lymph infection, a staph infection, holistically.
Yeah.
Like there's a different mentality from those old school people than these new school people that have been energized by the internet. They're no different than the people they dislike on the big pharma. Like big holistic and big pharma have become one and the same. Whole Foods and big pharma have become one and the same. Now, it's all about the money trail. This guy I'm talking about is a 200 millionaire. He has vested interests in people in his thing. Like I get it, pal. It's all about money. I play a gig. I want to make $1,000 a gig. I don't want to make $50 a gig anymore, like I did when I was 21. But it's just like, okay, like I get his newsletter every day. I just want to see things like, all right, well, tell you what, if you did do the vax and you're still in the supplements, here's what you should do to detoxify yourself from just like if I take antibiotics, I take some probiotics.
Right,
it's just, yin and the yang or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Like we're all trying to have a nice long life, but just the rhetoric on both sides of it, man. It's just like, God damn it. I just want to get back to going and getting some good, clean food, some good, clean water, and take some supplements and feel good. And we all get back to our lives,
That's what we're slowly doing.
Anyway, I sort of went off there.
No. Well, that's what we're here for, bro. For you to go off. Let me back up to a couple of things. And you're saying this gentleman we're not naming, who's a health natural foods advocate forever. That's who you get the newsletter from every day.
I read his newsletter daily.
I should subscribe.
You should.
Can we?
Go ahead.
Let's say his name just so it's not maudlin, because I talk about this person all the time. I talked about him last week, I think.
Who was it?
I think you're talking about Gary Null.
No, I'm talking about Dr. Joseph Mercola.
See, I'm glad we cleared that up. So you get some Mercola
Oh,
supplements?
his supplements are fucking the best. I just don't want him to like hear about me talking shit on him and then not sell me his
Yeah,
shit
yeah.
anymore. I mean, come
Right.
on, man. His shit's the best. I'm a
It's
premier customer, but I disagree with this vaccine
That's
stance.
okay. That's okay.
And,
Now,
and that's the thing that like that's what we've lost in America. Like I get it. If you don't want to take the vaccine, that's fine. Stay in your house, do your thing. And if you get really sick, I don't think you should be allowed to go to the hospital. Just like when I got really sick from my staph infection and I didn't want to take antibiotics, I just wrote it to the end. I didn't get scared at the end and all of a sudden go take an ICU bed. I was like, all right, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do it that way. Like I got a dear friend who will not take the vaccine and he's going to write it to the end, but
that's
most, you know, and that's cool. I respect that too.
that
But me,
that's
I use both things. I use
that's it.
Western
Well,
medicine
that's what I was gonna.
and
Yeah.
supplements. And bro, we say this all the time. In Europe, that's what you do. Earl Harvin, in Germany, you have a holistic doctor and a Western doctor, and they talk to each other and they come up with a plan of treatment. And that's why the thing in America is so silly, because in other countries, people are taking the vaccine and they're conferring with holistic, and people are just doing it. It's not the end of the world. Like, anyway, Phil, I need to shut up. I'll let you talk, bro.
No, we're here to listen to your journey, bro.
I know it's
I,
just
I'll
my
interject.
bullshit.
I'll
My
interject once in a
bullshit.
while.
I've been keeping my mouth shut about it because I think it's a health choice,
Well,
and it's not a
yes.
political choice.
In,
And now that I finally had COVID, I think I have a right to say something, because most people that are talking shit haven't even had it yet.
Well, there's a bunch of moving parts there. Talk to me a little bit though about how we.
See, I can't even smell this lavender, bro. It's the organic lavender. I can't smell it.
Still,
I'm pouring it all over me, and I'm trying to. I smelled a little bit just then.
That is scary. You hit a few things there, and one thing I want you to expand on is we come from this natural foods background, as you said. The '80s, bro. The '80s. We're around the same age, and in the '80s, we both found out about natural food, vegetarianism. We got into it. As you said, you're 98% vegetarian. You eat some good quality fish once in a while. And people need to understand this man. I've toured with this man, and I know his daily schedule, which is, well, by the time we wake up, he's already been out for his jog, his espresso, and if there's a natural foods or a place nearby with shakes and juices, he's had a green shake, a green juice. And when you're on tour with Mike Dillon, every day, the man brings his phone out and he says to Siri, "Map to Whole Foods, please." And we find out,
or Earth Fare for your
Earth Fare,
neighborhoods.
yeah, depends where we are, and it's only Whole Foods because that's easy to find. We love going to the small, kind of family owned or independent place as much as we can, right, Mike? But
that is exactly right.
Whole Foods, though, when you're on tour and you got like 45 minutes before you got to be on the 85 North, you find the fastest place. So Whole Foods, for all of the issues, does fill that spot. You know what it's going to be like. You can run in. They all look the same. So we go to Whole Foods almost every day on tour with Mike Dillon. And I watch this man eat fresh raw greens every day, fresh fruit every day, snacking on things like almonds, walnuts, healthy food,
and cookies. I got a cookie habit.
Yeah, sure.
To break.
You'll get a treat once in a while, a bag of potato chips once a little while. But the vast majority of what I watch him eat is a good, lean, healthy protein, as in tempeh tofu, once in a while, a piece of salmon, but a big salad, lots of olives, avocado, all these things. And people need to understand, we keep reading about those foods, talking about those foods. You got to do those foods. And this man, he's powered on tour. Talk to me a little bit about that daily regimen, Mike, and how you evolved into that.
Started out as a means of survival. Because even though I got in the late 80s, I got into health food and meditating and yoga. There was a thing called funk, punk, grunge, whatever it was that we were all getting into in the 80s, late 80s. And bands like Jane's Addiction and books like Junkie by Willy Burroughs. And I was young, and somehow heroin made its way into our world. So there was this weird dichotomy of wheatgrass and heroin going on in the Dallas music scene.
Okay.
And it took me about 10 years to beat that shit. And as soon as I started my recovery, you know, because even throughout the whole drug experience, I was always even going to Whole Foods back then and eating well and taking smoothies and trying to, like wheatgrass. I read in 1989 that it cleansed your body of drug deposits. It cleansed the liver. So we started doing shots of wheatgrass pretty early on. But once I finally gave up all the shit, then it was like running became integral to keeping the mind focused. And that's when I developed a bit of a ritualistic approach to this self-care and touring healthily.
Yeah.
That's when it started. It's, you know, it just started with, you know, like I love that saying, the journey of a million miles begins with one step. And in recovery, they call it the first step. But in life, we can call it the first step too. Oh, there's the people that want to tell me my car is ready. I'll call them back in a little bit.
Okay.
Hang on. I'm just going to hit end and decline. Okay, there we go.
Okay.
I'm back. So, you know, I just started doing all these things and eventually got to where my running regimen was pretty good and just do it every other day. Discovered the joys of espresso.
Yes.
And I was just on tour like 200 to 250 days a year. So self-care and eating well and taking supplements and everything we've been talking about was survival so that I wouldn't get sick on tour.
Sure.
So that I had energy for the shows. And looking back at it, you know, at 35, you're thinking, like, oh my God, you know, I'm fucking nearly 40. I'm old, you know, la, la, la. Like, didn't realize like how good back when I was still running under 8-minute, running 747 miles and just fucking trucking. And, you know, I'm now 56, just turned 56 last month.
Right.
You know, I'm happy that I'm still trucking the 945 miles and
amazing.
You know, I'm running. Someone told me don't go run, but I'm like, well, I'm running where there's no people. Like that's the deal right now. Like
in terms of staying healthy. Yeah.
Well, right now, even with this COVID thing, I went out and ran the other day, and I know you can't get around people, so I'm just like, it's just like, okay. Don't get near a single person. You don't want to get anyone sick. And she's coming through to the bathroom with the mask on.
That's great. Look at that, folks. That is some serious, just respect of science and the math. His wife has a mask on because you're in that zone of unknown numbers. I mean, I can't believe people are making this so hard. I mean, it
could be a lot easier. It could be a lot easier.
I know.
You know?
One of the moments we missed, I thought, in the U.S. is when Delta really first started breaking out. I remember there was a case in Australia. This is months ago, folks. You can go look for it. And in Australia, they're not messing around, which to the anti-vaxxers means they are fascists. I don't know what to say. Their numbers are almost nothing. They're essentially close to zero compared to ours. But anyway, in Australia, when there was an early case of Delta, since they have contact tracing, right? All the cell phones, everyone's on an app. This is normal in South Korea, in Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia, New Zealand, a bunch of places in Europe. You have a phone app so that when you're near someone who ends up testing positive, that info goes into the app. Your phone goes beep, 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 and it says, okay, on the 8th of October, you were at the Starbucks between 3:07 and 3:22 p.m. 2 people who were there are now positive. You should get tested. I think that's fantastic. No, it's spying. They already are spying on you. They already know where your phone is. That's what's amazing about this. Every point they bring up of paranoia, you just shake your head. Big Pharma. You're on 6 to 8 pharmaceuticals already. Average American. What? I don't hear you asking what's in Coumadin. I just don't know. Which redneck trucker, Mike, that hates this vaccine have you ever heard say, well, I don't know what's in that Dilaudid? And then the Coumadin. Did you see the ingredients in Coumadin? I mean, come on,
What's
man.
Coumadin? What's Coumadin anyway?
I forget what it's for. It's for blood pressure or something. But, you know, have you heard any of your anti-vax friends ever say, even what's in ivermectin? They don't seem to care. Talk to me about
the
that.
thing is, most of my anti-vax friends are like health food people because I don't have that many friends, and they are maybe of the libertarian variety.
Yeah.
And like I said, I respect all their opinions. I mean, I think they're cool. There's only one guy, and I'll leave him nameless, but I think's lost his mind a little bit. And he thinks Biden's a Nazi and he's trying to fucking kill us all.
Of course.
Put us in camps. And it's sort of drag because he won't do business with me anymore. I like doing business
Really?
with him.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he's not a musician. I just use him for auxiliary services.
Okay.
Wait, but you know what?
Give me some clarity there. So this person thinks Biden's a Nazi who's going to lock us up. What did he think of the previous president?
Well, that's the thing is I think he's sort of like the previous president. I mean, here's the thing, and that's what I'm talking about, is the rhetoric on both sides gotten so crazy and intense. It's like they all start going, well, it's in violation of the Nuremberg trials and the Nuremberg Code and this and that. It's like, read some history. I'm like, okay, I've read some history. I actually like history. But, okay. First off, neither Biden nor Trump started ordering trainloads of Jews to the gas chamber. My wife is second generation Holocaust survivor.
Yeah.
Like I know the history firsthand. Yeah. I heard about how her grandfather who got out of Nazi Germany. It was fucking harrowing and hardcore. And I've also heard about all the family members who died at the hands of Hitler.
Of course.
Because, okay, we're still a long ways away from that here in this country. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't like a bunch of the rhetoric that Trump and those racist motherfuckers put through, but I don't really think that they're out to kill us. They're out just to make all the money and be in control. That's their version of supremacy. And they, there's a great Noam Chomsky book. What it's a small one. It's easy to read, but it's basically about like, all right, well, now that the Trumps and the Carnegies can't send people in with clubs to beat the workers anymore, management, big business had to find a new way to control labor.
Okay.
What's the name of that book? It's a fucking awesome book. And basically, ever since the Wagner Labor Act of 35, big business, i.e. Trump, that's who Trump works for, big business. He doesn't work for the man that all these people support, just like Biden works for big business. And that's what Chomsky will make you understand. It's just Biden's a little nicer about it.
Right,
Biden's,
you're getting health care and you're getting the social safety net. Yeah.
Biden paid for my monoclonal therapy. The feds are paying for it right now.
There you go.
I mean, that's the difference. Where they're still about big money. Their friends are going to get rich, just like Trump's friends got rich. Absolutely. No, that's what it makes it's just so crazy. It's like, why does it have to go from like, well, of course, motherfuckers are making money to like, they're trying to enslave us and take away all our rights. It's like, no, they're just saying, hey, maybe the best way to deal with this public thing that's different is y'all try this vaccine.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I say we're talking about it's absurd.
I want to expand on some of this. Hold this thought in your mind. I'm going to check some questions, but my next question I want to explore our fellow natural foods people, because I'm getting more attacks from that flank. I have a few MAGA friends. I have a few MAGA friends who But what are you going to do? If you're MAGA, your analysis of fact and linear. I'm sorry, it's just not what it is for most of the rest of the world. So we have that as they analyze vaccines and as they don't ask what's in Coumadin and ivermectin, but they're obsessed in ingredients. So there's a whole discussion there with the MAGA people. But the ones I'm getting more attacks from, and I'm more confused. I have an old friend emailing me right now, and she's I think in her 80s, and I've known her since early 90s when I got into natural foods, in her 70s maybe, and she is aghast that I got the vaccine. She can't believe it. She treats me almost like I'm a traitor or something. I have another couple of friends who were customers of the store Sherry and I owned. They think I'm a turncoat. They can't believe. So I'm getting attacked from that flank. So I want you to address that and in a second. Let me first look and see if there's any questions here. Thank you so much, folks, for dialing in today. Hello, Kevin. Steve Hershey, by the way, did I get that 6 dB back? Is my voice balanced out with Mike? Hi, Sharon. Hi, Derek Sholton. How are you? Who else is here? Benny Rodriguez. Tra! What's up, Benny? Benny, I think you know this man's music. Benny is my music addict big brother, and I think he knows the Mike Dillon trip because we're going to talk about Mike's music as well, too, a bunch. Scott Fisher's here. How are you, buddy? Let's see.
Honey DeFranco's old manager?
Is that the same name? Give me any questions you got, folks. Give me any questions. Sometimes you can't defy the way air carries the virus, says Kevin. And that's true. There's people who caught this on a quick walk by, just walking past someone. Now, that's a tiny percentage, and unfortunately, Mike has been one of them. Cliff Hines, how are you, my friend? Cliff sends love to us both. We send the love back. Sharon says, COVID-19 is different than anything we've experienced. Yes, 100 years. I'm always trying to tell people it's been 100 years. 100 years. Jack Pyrus says Gary Null is not anti-vax. That's a little tricky, Gary. I mean, I just read something where he's okay. He's not anti-vax in terms of that absolutist stance that he would never have one. But I thought I read that he's critical of these current ones. But correct me if I'm wrong. I think I saw that. But yes, he's not, an absolutist, of course. Let's see. But Ben Travers, what's up, bro? So a lot of cool people here that love music. And, play a little tabla. Derek says, okay, he cooked heroin, kicked the habit also. Nice. Hey, man, staying clean and getting off the shit.
Well, you know what's really funny, though, talking about drugs? I got a few of my old junkie friends.
Right.
One reached out to me during the pandemic, and I know she's still using, and she does the worst of all of them, but she straight up said that she was not going to do the vax because she didn't trust it. And I know a few other junkies, okay, and that to me, that is just the funniest shit. Like, okay, you're going to do some shit that's probably laced with fentanyl that will definitely can't kill you, or do some fucking bathtub fucking Drano and put that shit in your lungs, but you're worried about the vaccine because the misinformation has convinced you that it's going to kill you in 5 years. I mean, like I get it. Like, believe me, I've done the critical thinking on this vaccine. It's not perfect. I remember when planes started flying, they crashed all the time. Planes are pretty good now. That's the thing about all vaccines. They get better. I did the Hep C cure. When it first came out, I said, no fucking way. That interferon will probably kill you and give you really bad side effects. Yeah. I did it 4 years ago, not a side effect, and I did natural stuff, all the herbs, and seeing a holistic doctor, drinking Chinese tea twice a day, doing all the shit to keep my Hep C numbers low, a disease that I gave myself through fucking my addiction.
Needles, right.
Needles, man. And then, like, once that Clusa and the Harvoni came out, I got in line, man, and thank you, Obama, for Obamacare. I got a treatment that within a month, I was testing negative for a Hep C virus that kills lots of people. That's called Big Pharma.
Big Pharma.
Thank you, Big Pharma.
Science.
Yes, it was expensive. Thank you, guys in a lab that fucking, instead of going to music school and become an asshole fucking pretentious musician like myself, they sat around a lab and became pretentious scientists.
Yeah.
That's their gig.
Yeah.
You know, that's
All
their
of them.
gig.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want some motherfucker. You know, I practice rhythm changes and the blues every day and do my scales every day. Get them this morning, and like I will make little discoveries of shit I've been doing for 20 years. Or the same thing with these tabla, slowing it down and going an epiphany because I do it daily. Like
Daily.
I don't know shit about vaccine and holistic medicine, any of that shit. I know a little bit about drumming and music, and I practice it all the time. And then these epiphanies happen. That's what I think happens with these guys with 180 fucking IQs that are making shit for mankind. You know, Bill Gates is just financing them. So why is it people, do we have to think they're all trying to kill us, man? To me, everyone just sounds like a bunch of fucking meth addicts fucking sitting around smoking it, looking out the window going, they're trying to kill us. Because that's what I did when I was on drugs. It's bullshit, man. Everyone fucking needs to, like Don said the last time we talked, we all need to calm down, man.
No, it's true. Well, let's talk a little bit about. Well, you know what? Let's take a detour and talk about some music.
Yeah,
there's my fake.
That's a pretty good fake conga. Is that the old roll?
You know, it's not bad. It's the Korg Triton, and they
the old Korg Triton. This is way more interesting than talking about the vaccine.
It's true. It's true. Well, let's we're gonna talk some music right now. Let me make sure there's no questions here. Antoine Shashik says this Mike guy has been through some deep shit. Thank you for sharing, man. Antoine, chase this man's music down. Look up MikeDillonVibes.com. I put the link there, and he's all over the internet through the years. Look, I'm drinking something. What is this shit? I think it's got cayenne in. Oh. That's the first thing I've tasted in a couple of days. Oh, so your sense of taste came back.
Yeah!
Okay. So let's talk about some music for a bit, because Mike's been on tour, and as he said, I'm gonna go to a little bit of Mike's music. We're gonna jump around.
I just got off tour with Ricky Lee Jones.
Amazing. Yeah, and we're gonna talk about that.
We just did a 2-week tour, and thank God for the timing of this shit. It didn't hit in the middle of that tour.
Here's let's listen to a little bit.
Let's look at this shit. Oh, is that Mayo? Oh yeah.
Just a little random sound bites here.
That's Jeff Coffin from the Dave Matthews Band and Bela Fleck. There's a little punk rock song.
And you've got let's get into this groove. Here we go, folks.
That's Nick from Cage the Elephant on guitar. Nicky on drums, Brian Haas on Rhodes.
So yeah, I'll turn off so you can tell people. So it's from right to left. It's Mike Dillon on percussion, Nikki Glaspie on drums.
Yep.
Talk about her for a minute, man. She's got some bands of
Nikki's one of the baddest drummers alive. I mean, she played with Beyonce. She came out of the Berklee School of Music. She has her own band, the Empower. She toured for years with Ivan Neville and Dumpster Funk, Tony, and all those bad motherfuckers. Yeah. And then there's Dave. There's Jeff Coffin. He plays with Dave Matthews and Bela Fleck, and went to North Texas where I went and studied music. We were like in the 2 o'clock lab band together or something.
Oh, so you were
back in the 80s. Yeah.
You were in college with Jeff. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's Brian Haas, one of my best friends, love him to death. And then there's Nick Bockrath from Cage the Elephant. He sort of came up, underneath Scott Messer's Metzger and all those New York guys. Dave Butler, who plays with Marco. He's a little bit younger than him, but I think he's from Philly originally. He moved to Brooklyn. Great guitarist, lives in Nashville now. And he played on my record, Shoot the Moon. One of those songs he played. He played a killing.
That's awesome. Well, let's just hear just a little soundbite more.
Let's hear a little more music. I'll shut up.
Here we go. That's great. So Jeff Coffin, and I'll stop here because look at Mike's doing like a synthesis thing now. So that's just we're gonna,
That's fucking the Kobe Cumbia right there.
So talk to us about that Punkadelic band, because you toured on and off the last couple of months with that. Nikki Glaspie, of course, amazing drummer in her own right, as you just said. Check her out, folks. What a badass. Dumpster Funk, the band that she really broke out in, features a couple of the Neville brothers, right? Or is it one Neville brother? Dumpster Funk.
I mean, Ivan is, he's the son of Aaron Neville.
Yeah.
And I think both Nick and Tony toured with the Neville brothers. I'd have to look that up to confirm it. But I know they,
in the ballpark, great.
In the ballpark, yeah. So, and then Ian Neville's the other guitar player in the band. So you have two Nevilles in the band, and then they've had a whole cast of great drummers in that band that have played, and I think they're touring with horns now. But yeah, and then she's got her band, The Nth Power, and then she started this thing during the pandemic called Kamani. And it's a bunch of the guys from Ghost Note, Sput, the great drummer, is playing fucking Rhodes and keys.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, I mean, he's killing. So she's got that thing's really taking off as well. So Nikki just is doing stuff all the time and doing The Nth Power with Nate.
Amazing.
They're Nicholas. They're a great band. So. Same thing. It was the pandemic, just everyone being at home, that all of a sudden Nikki was like, I'm in Austin. Y'all want to come play a gig? And we just hooked up. And then I was like, hey, I got a gig in, because there was a couple places that were doing shows outdoors.
Okay.
And we played in the Austin place where she played all the time outdoors. And then she came to New Orleans and played with us. And we just had so much fun. We had the same booking agent. We're like, hey, you want to do a tour?
Okay. Same agent. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Royal Artist Group. So, because he books Ghost Note and Snarky Puppy and Nth Power.
Sure.
Or his team does. And a lot of so we were just able to make some stuff happen during the pandemic. So I made all those 3 records the first summer of the pandemic, getting different folks to send stuff remotely, like Matt Chamberlain, Earl Harvin, John Paul from Clutch. Robbie Seahag was like the star of those records. Him and Shane Theriot, who played with the Neville brothers, who's Hall & Oates music director, was the other guy. So I just basically was like, I'm just gonna make records with, just send tracks to my friends. Everyone's got home studios, as you know. It really came together nicely. So I took him to my good friend Chad Mize in Kansas City. He's got the killer Real Deal, all the old gear, Electrodyne, Neumann, you know the deal. I'm not great with names for everything, but all the old analog stuff. So we would just dump it in, run everything through the good shit. He has a beautiful old console mixing desk, and people would send us their stuff, and thank God everything lined up. Nathan Lambertson, who you know, my longtime bass player, sent me tons of stuff. Cliff sent me some stuff, and Brad Walker, just a lot of musicians. It was just a nice way to spend the time and keep my boy Chad's studio alive. And then all of a sudden it was like, wow, this stuff sounds pretty good. And then Royal Potato agreed to put it all out. So Suitcase, go ahead.
Yeah. So you turned, this pandemic time again into art. Suitcase what?
And then Suitcase Man was my sort of singer-songwriter record.
Right.
Me trying to do like, say, what Elliott Smith or Nick Drake or some of these guys I know that are just great with guitar and vocal. Make more of a singer-songwriter introspective record, but using marimba and vibraphone instead of it just being a guy with a guitar or a lady with a guitar and a voice. So, my voice, it was really fun to like work on it. And then I did all the lyrics with Peregrine, because she's a great artist and a great writer. So I would start something and she'd be like, oh, that's pretty good. And then it became a collaboration for the lyrics for the whole 3 records. I think there was a couple of them, probably like the really dumb ones, that really stupid lyrics that she didn't have anything to do with. And she'd be like, I can't believe you're going to put that on the record. And Chad would be like, no, that's going to stay. But, not everyone. We know those women that go see like prog rock bands or whatever that
absolutely
sort of like are just there because they're like, oh, I don't understand what these guys are doing.
It happens.
It happens,
But it's over we're the same age. We've seen the whole evolution to where, wow, things are finally diversifying. Women, not only at the shows, but on stage and being, not that there was not women on stage from beginning of rock and roll. Please, no one hear that, saying that. But massive increase in not only women.
Oh, yeah,
on stage,
it's so much better.
People of color, Asian people, Latina, Latinx people from, Southeast Asia. All around the world now, you're seeing people in these preeminent roles on tours, not only on the tours, but getting into the background, which is really where, and that's been a great change. Seeing managers of color now, seeing myself, there's many times I'm the only black guy in a tour management setting on a tour, or the production management. Depends on what part of the world and country you are. But
Dan, he tour manages Ween. I mean, there's all kinds of great people and diversity happening.
Which wasn't here, right? 30 years
Which
ago,
wasn't here, but what I'm talking
rock.
about is just like, remember, like, I don't know, you'd go see like a prog rock band. The joke would be like be 90% dudes in the
Sausage
audience.
Farm, yes.
Sausage absolutely. Fest. That's what I'm joking about.
Yeah.
And then you see the women that would be there, and it seems like they were just there because, we're just gonna come see this music my husband or my boyfriend likes. Like, I don't get it. Don't get it at all. That's what I was laughing. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Like that's that's why I'm glad I've always had strong women in my life. And even with Billy Goat, I had a woman in the band. My first wife was Native American, and she was always an integral part of the creative aspect of it. And, and in that band, just like what you're talking about, it was always very diverse. At times, I would be the only white person on tour. It'd be like the drummer, the guitar player, the Blazing Camp. I would, and guess what? I didn't get my way all the time, and it was a good thing to learn.
Yeah.
Of course, I was a strung out junkie, so.
Right, you were learning some other shit, but
I was learning some other shit. But the way we dealt with things back in those days, I'm gonna write my little book that maybe 20 people will write, but. There were oftentimes we'd be in the van and going down the road, and all of a sudden I would have 3 fists in my face. Yeah. Because that's just the way we were back then. It was insanity.
Yeah.
I'm not recommending it for anyone.
Yeah, this isn't the recommended people. Let's. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on. I want to talk about some food too in a minute. But I want to remind people that I just put the Bandcamp link to Suitcase Man, and it's a wonderful album. People, Mike is one of the DIY motherfuckers going back to his teens, making T-shirts, making records, recording things. He's a punk rocker, and I am too. We grew up with listening to punk rock, but doing it ourselves, going to the FedEx, making the posters, being there at 3 a.m, making the album covers, mailing it in. He's done that, and now.
And you know we are though, Andre. Here's the thing about us: we are the do-it-yourself guys, but we didn't just come out of punk rock.
No.
We both grew up with the love of Zappa and Rush and all the great prog rock bands. I think of myself more as a music school nerd who's in the youth symphony, who stumbled into a punk rock concert and just thought it was the coolest thing I saw, seeing Bad Brains in 1986.
Oh.
And literally I've spent my entire life just trying to be as cool as that concert in 1986. And that's what punk rock was about. Was just trying to and seeing Fishbone in 1987 and going, oh my God, they're so fucking good, and wanting to be that good. And that's what music does. Yeah. It makes you dream.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt. And not only being that good as those bands, but seeing right away they're doing it themselves. I saw Fishbone's first New York City show, and pretty soon realized these guys are doing it all. They're designing the shirts. They're doing this, doing that. Years later, we've both worked with some of the people in Fishbone. You've worked with Norwood many times, and
Norwood is a dear friend. I love I haven't worked with Angela that much.
Angela? Oh, I thought you did. Yeah.
No,
so I worked with him, but we both know that band, more than so many, encompassed everything we're talking about: the DIY and mixing of punk rock, funk, pop, blues, soul, noise, experimental jazz. It's all there. Let me zoom in on some of your music though, because people need to know about this album. As you said, you're singing on here and doing some different stuff. This is called Suitcase Man, folks. You can check it out. It's on. Let's listen for a little bit here.
Living on the road for 30 years, never made myself a home. Traveling from place to place, walking alone like a human suitcase. Suitcase man. Drop my bags on the floor, instruments by the door. My home is a Chevy van. Guess that's why she calls me Suitcase Man.
Awesome. And let's.
I hear gunshots. It's the middle of the night. I hear gunshots. Loud and tight.
Wow, some beautiful stuff there, Mike. And folks, this is available right now. And you know what? Everyone has been removed. The middleman, the middle woman, the middle robot, the middle program. You can buy music right from the artist, folks. And you know this. These are the chances. And Mike's got an incredibly expansive Bandcamp. All of his projects are on there. Mike, talk to me about what brought you to this record. Because it's just another chapter in the Mike Dillon,
Well, like 1918, the other two records I did, 1918 and Shoot the Moon, that's like the collaborations with everyone. That's more like my...
Sure. Your video is off right now.
Okay, sorry. Let me...
there we go. Awesome.
Oh, you got it. All right, cool.
There you go.
Those records are more like my normal process. But when I was just sitting around the house on lockdown with nothing to do except make music, I would just start playing the marimba. And that song you played first, Suitcase Man,
Sure.
that was a spontaneous thing. It just sort of happened real quick one afternoon between Peregrine and I. I came up with most of it. And I posted it on Instagram like we do these days when we do something we think sort of groovy. And it got a lot of good feedback. And people were like, I like that song. So it sort of gave me like the balls to be like, all right, I'm going to keep doing this. And just write a bunch of heartfelt songs. It was, put myself in a place of vulnerability.
Okay.
Anders Osborne is a dear friend of mine, and he would always sort of joke, why you just got to do all this punk rock shit? Why don't you try to do some heart-spoken, like soft from the heart shit? And that all started with like Function and Broke, my record I did in 2014, which was a collection of instrumentals, mainly in Elliott Smith. I did Neil Young, Damage and the Needle and the Damage Done, and a Martin Denny song, and then Rosewood, which came out last summer.
Okay.
Just doing all these songs with nothing but the mallet instruments and percussion. No guitar, no bass, no synth. And I always liked sonically the way those records sounded.
Okay.
Just like on Suitcase Man, that low tone is a bass marimba. There were 20 of them made in the 70s, and I was lucky enough to find one used. So it's got pickups on it. It's an electric bass marimba. There's plenty of bass marimbas, but Deegan electric bass marimbas are very rare. So I have that, and then my company Majestic, they've given me a lot of nice current stuff like the vibraphone I tour with and the marimba I tour with. But I also have some old Deegan vibes, some old Deegan marimba. I love the old Deegan stuff.
Right.
Just like guitar players love old vintage Les Pauls, old Fenders. So it's the same deal, and there is a magic about those instruments. And when they were all brought together in the studio, especially on 2-inch tape, I was like, wow, I love the way this stuff sounds. And I did Rosewood on 2-inch. And once I got about 8 of these songs, these more acoustic songs, I was like, I just went in the studio. I think I did Suitcase in 2 days. Wow. Just straight to tape, and then we mixed it. And
it does sound very direct. It's just in your face, very direct. I love that the vibes are not just sitting there, like right in the mix, and you're able to hear every nuance of those.
And that's what my concept was. I was like, all right, there's been a lot of singer-songwriter records, obviously with guitar and with piano, but and I'm not saying this as a cocky thing, but I was just like, well, I don't know many of marimba singer-songwriter records or xylophone. Let's say use the word xylophone. That's what everyone calls it. So I think it may be one of the first xylophone singer-songwriter records where that's the only instrument there is. Even Tom Waits, who's one of my other heroes, always has other instruments besides just marimba. I mean, he uses marimba a lot, and I love all his weird instruments. I would say he's definitely him and Captain Beefheart are the godfathers of where I'm coming from.
I love it
with that thing.
I love it.
So,
I can hear having toured with you when you've done some vocals. I always know that the Tom Waits influence is strong and the Beefheart influence, and right away on that title track we can hear that. And a couple people said that. A couple people say, yeah, it sounds like Tom Waits, sounds like Beefheart, and it really, and it's a nod. It's a nod to some of your influences. A couple questions here. Antoine says, Mike, do you have any tricks or ways that you keep yourself focused when writing new music? That's a wide open question, but I mean,
I would say that's the hardest thing. That's where discipline comes in. So like, I haven't written anything since I've been on tour for a month. When did I leave? Yeah, I got in the studio right before I left in September. So I wrote some songs. Yeah, at the top of September, I wrote some songs. It's just like anything else. Like what I try to do with my process is every day write something. Just go to the instrument and write, even if it sucks. Just try to write.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do now with this book thing. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm not a famous guy or anything, but I want to write a book. I love books. I want to write about my experience. And a lot of people are asking me to do it, my friends, so I'm going to do it. But that's a different thing. Like, I'm finding with that kind of writing, I have a little bit more fear.
Yeah.
Like expectation of what it's supposed to be. Whereas with songwriting, I have no expectations, no rules, no limits, you know. And if I'm not inspired by my own writing, then I might pull out a standard and be like, oh, let's work on this Thelonious Monk song. And then next thing you know, I might get inspiration from a Monk song or learn an Elliott Smith song, or, you know, I learned the Elton John song one day, and it's like, this is, you know, just what everyone else does on guitar.
Yeah.
On guitar, I try to do with the vibes, you know, because why does the vibes have to be an instrument that is just treated in this gilded cage of vibraphone percussion literature, which I love, but that's been part of my mission is like, okay, besides all the normal places you see it, why can't the vibraphone be just as loved as a guitar is?
Well, yes, and you've shown that why can't the vibraphone be in punk rock? Why can't it be in a hip hop song? Why can't it be in? You've put it into all these other places. A heavy metal track. We've done some crazy shit, and now that you're doing electronic stuff, it's broke up.
But back to Antoine's question.
Yes.
I mean, I'm pretty ADD as my answer to your question. And I just try to channel it. I mean, I think that's part of it. But obsession, the same thing that makes you an addict.
Yeah.
And makes so many highly creative people addicts. I mean, you know, Miles talks about that in his books. I don't know. I just for me, it comes in waves. But my favorite musicians, like Wayne Shorter, they're great composers.
Yeah.
You know, and I think I think everyone that plays music and improvises, we're all composers. Because that's what you're doing. You're writing, You're writing as you play. You know, you're playing licks or you're writing as you play. So the goal is to be a composer. Yeah. So Robert Anton Wilson always said, you may not be Picasso, but if you paint every day, you're going to be better than you were yesterday.
You know, that's it. You know, well, that's great. And I want to pull a couple other things out of your answer. And Antoine is one of my students, actually. And Antoine, he's a guitar player nominally, but he plays synthesizers and he's learning about recording technology, all this stuff. What I love about Antoine and all of my young students is I am confident that the future is okay with music because there's enough weirdos like him, and then people older than him like Lewis Cole or the people.
Oh my God, Lewis Cole.
People in Black Midi or in Bent Knee or all these young bands that are out there. Crumb is another great young band. So a lot of people in Antoine's generation give me hope, and the whole hip hop generation, which is a lot of young people, give me hope that it's going to be fine. I want to take something from your answer too, though, which was, well, first off, writing a song every day. Wow, you know, and many people have said that. Of course, you're carrying on a great tradition, but that's a serious discipline, and that's something that I've fallen off of. I used to write a lot of shit in my youth. But you're right, man. Just setting that goal and saying you're writing a song. Now, when you do that, Mike, do you end up then with a whole stockpile of stuff that you go, okay, I wrote this. Let me put it aside. I might not necessarily use it, but tell us about that. Where do those songs go if you write?
Yeah, that's what happened with the Pandemic records. I mean, I had got on a good flow in December 2019, right before I did a 2-month tour. So some of the songs on Shoot the Moon in 1918, I literally just put into GarageBand, had started them, and it was just doing that. Like, all right, I'm gonna write a song today. And then all of a sudden I had 30, you know, I still have songs that we tracked that are not released yet.
Sure.
And right now I'm working on another record. I'm driving around in my van listening to 12 songs that I've written this summer. You know, but now that we're busy again, you know, you can't write a song every day.
Right.
But just like right there's here in my apartment, I got a vibraphone and a xylophone, and there's a computer. Boom. Get the idea, put it down.
Yeah.
You know, and then sometimes for me, I'll write the whole thing and just play it for days and memorize it before I record it.
Sure.
You know,
No, that's
so there's
great.
many ways you can go by it, but
Yeah.
it really is. That's where for me the discipline just be like, forget about the result, just write something, and maybe it'll be good. Maybe it'll suck, but that was such a pleasure about the pandemic. Was that I was able to write a ton of stuff, record and listen, and then take my time and try to craft the songs a little more than just being like, all right, I'm going to go in and make a record in 3 days. Because like it only took 2 days to record Suitcase Man, but I actually spent a while working on those songs.
Getting it built in your mind.
And then like what I do the lyrics, and Peregrine would be like, even though she's not a musician, she'd be like, try it that way, because the lyric delivery is not working.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool. I was like, okay, I'm going to be open-minded and try that. And it was really fun to be like, that's weird. I wouldn't have thought of it that way. Let me try the delivery. So, you know, I don't know. That's my little haphazard process.
That's awesome. There's a lot to take away there for any artist. And you know, I've talked to painters and writers and different creatives where it's like, just do it every day. And I've lived that. I try to practice every day, but I don't, I got to get back to hitting record or getting the piece of paper, because it's an amazing discipline when you do it, and I miss it. And it's about getting up a little earlier and, you know, doing it. Folks, when I'm on tour with Mike Dillon, that's another thing. Even if you wake up at 9 o'clock, he's already been awake and he's practicing. And if you're rooming with Mike, you'll hear him down the hall or out in the van, right there, practicing the tabla. Give us some tabla.
So lately, you know, that was the other good thing I did was I started taking FaceTime lessons with my tabla teacher every other week during the pandemic.
Wow.
And I'm still doing it now. His name's Alok Dutta. He's Danny Carey from Tools teacher. He teaches a lot of people out in Los Angeles.
Nice.
Great master. Go to alokdutta.com, DUTTA.com.
Okay.
He does do, even if you're not a tabla player, I mean, like, take just music of India lesson with him. Just do the counting thing. It's beautiful. And he's such a great, heavy guy. I'm glad he's my Guruji. And anyway, that's another area that I do to stay super disciplined and focused, is having a teacher. And I've been with him for 20 years. Pat Masalato gave me his number from King Crimson.
Wow. Okay. All right.
So that's how I started studying, because Alok used to live in Austin. And my phone is starting to blow up. I'm going to have to go bounce a little bit. But
Okay,
I'm going to play
sure.
some tabla for a little bit. Ricky Lee that was one thing I started doing on this last tour. I started tour managing, because I tour managed myself. I played and tour managed Ricky Lee.
For Ricky Lee.
Fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
So one thing we've been doing lately is slowing down everything to a very slow pace. Put the metronome at 50 and really just play something for 10 minutes at 50. Then up to speed. It's something we've all known as musicians, right?
Yeah.
Play it slow and you can really internalize it and learn it. But then all of a sudden playing it fast becomes easy and it's so much cleaner. So
start slow, folks. Yeah.
Start slow. And that's what we've been doing in my lessons lately. And I'm 56. Been taking lessons forever.
I love it. And at 56, like you, I'm very inspired that you're also writing a book because people ask all the time, hey, tell some stories. So we're gonna make sure you promote your book when it's out. What do you have, Mike? You have like another 10 minutes, or what's your?
Oh, I'm fine.
Okay,
Another
good.
10 minutes is good.
Okay,
Another
good.
10.
So, because I want to circle back, and I want to make sure we hit a few things, folks. Again, if you tuned in halfway through, we're here with my dear friend, my colleague, sometimes my boss, because I play in his band. Sometimes we're in someone else's
We're
band together.
colleagues.
We're colleagues.
Exactly.
Sometimes we're in Don Preston's band.
Sometimes we're constituents.
We're constituents.
You ever hear that Dizzy Gillespie thing?
Oh no! What he has the thing on that.
There's that one recording where it's like Charlie Parker.
Okay. And
anyway, I think Charlie Parker called Dizzy his constituent.
Dizzy is my one. I've met and worked with so many wonderful people, of course, and we both work with Don Preston, who goes back to the 40s and 50s as a musician. But I met Dizzy. Did I ever tell you that? I met Dizzy just to say hi. So that's kind of the oldest thread to like shaking the hand of somebody who. But let's talk a little bit more about someone else you work with, and you just got off the road, and I want to give people a little taste of this. Mike has worked for years with the wonderful, incredible, legendary songwriter Ricky Lee Jones. And talk to us a little bit about that, Mike. You just got off the road with Ricky. Actually, let me play a little sound bite first, and then talk about A, where this is, and B, what we got here. Here we go, folks. Just listen.
Smelled sweet. She curled up in her boyfriend's feet. She said, I have a plan. Listen, Sam, I'd like to make me a little easy money. She said, yes. Oh, yeah. Just tell me what you want me to do. She said, baby, you could trust me, but you know that you must be hiding up in my room at 1:45. Can't tell the boy, come on up to the room and play with some of my toys. But the Jill had said her babe, she wasn't going to sit there and wait. But this guy was wise by all of the lies, and he flies out the door with the easy money. 'Cause there is no man who got any money in his hand, who got any of that bread there being.
So that's just a little soundbite there, folks. So this was a living room concert not long ago. Tell us a little bit about that stop and this year touring with Ricky Lee a little bit.
Okay, that was the one pandemic live stream we did back in June of 2020. Mm-hmm. And I've been with Ricky Lee since 2016.
Right.
Anyway, that song, Easy Money, is on our first record. And that's sort of what got her deal with Warner Brothers and brought her the attention of Lowell George heard her play it, and he really liked it. And I think he even recorded it, and he took it to Lenny Waronker, and those guys produced her record and whatever, and got all the great players. But anyway, Ricky's just from that, I don't know. She's an icon. She's got her own thing. Her and Joni Mitchell and a few others were some of the first heavyweights of sort of the, I don't know what you would call it, but their interesting version of pop music.
Right.
That was had great players on it. You know, Joni had Jocko, and she was collaborating with Mingus and those heavyweights, and having Wayne Shorter and different people play on the records. But the same thing is what Ricky Lee was doing, was having like Steve Gadd on her records, and, the Steely Dan guys play on it, and being produced by Steely. So it's a pretty deep legacy, and she's always had amazing musicians with her. So I was very honored when she asked me to play with her, because I knew her song Chucky in Love, and that's about Chuck E. Weiss, who's
right.
a great songwriter, part of that LA crew that Tom Waits was very central with. And she's got a new book out, and she talks about it. Her and Tom dated for many years, or maybe just when you're in your 20s, a year is a long time, as we all know.
Sure.
So they dated in their 20s, so that But anyway, yeah, she's just been such a great influence. And that was another reason why I wanted to do Suitcase Man, because I'm just blown away by people that can like command a room and create a vibe with just voice and an instrument, like she'll do with her piano or guitar. And Ricky's a pure vocalist. Like I don't even know if she knows what she's doing per se, like a trained musician does with the piano or the guitar, but she'll just start singing and then she'll just start fleshing out chords using her ear and what sounds good. It's like the opposite of the music school approach. And so I don't know, I'm paraphrasing and making sweeping generalizations. She's super deep and heavy, and like all the horn parts on all her record. I've watched her in the studio with the voice, which is the original instrument. She will have the horn players play parts that she sings. And she did all her records that way. So yeah, she's just super deep, great songwriter. And we just did 2 weeks and basically celebrating her book, which just came out, she's been like, people are calling her like the Huckleberry Finn of modern American songwriting, songtell stories. And you sent me that one, not podcast, but you sent me that book review, that one famous rock and roll writer. You sent me you forwarded an email. What was that guy named?
Bob Lefsetz.
Yeah, he said it was the best rock and roll book ever. So, Ricky Lee's deep, we rehearsed and she'll be like, did I ever tell you the time that Prince called me and had me come over and hang out? Cause he, or like the time the Stones had me meet up, she's just been around forever. Or Dr. John's stories, or jamming with Booker, it's just, it's like every generation. It just goes so deep, and she doesn't talk about it. You just sort of wait for the stories to come out, and then they'll pop out. So yeah. But she's demanding as a band leader, and it's awesome.
That's good. We both know that that's the best place to be, right? Somebody
just like Claypool's demanding. These great these greats. They're perfectionists, and they demand a lot. They make you take it up a level. So I like it.
It's huge. Let's see if there's any questions here, because I know Mike just has a few more minutes, folks. Folks, we're talking to Mike Dillon. Go to MikeDillonVibes.com. It's impossible to even give a snapshot of what this man does in music. We just talked a little bit about his sideman work with his collaborative work, really, with Ricky Lee Jones. He's worked with her for many years now as a drummer, percussionist, and also tour managing a bit. And his own groups, it's staggering the amount of records he has out. He's got a hip-hop record out. What's the name of that again? MC Silver? That's
MC Silver Eyes.
Eyes. Fantastic, folks. And then he's got every manner of other style of music that he's released. We're talking to him today, too, though, because he is managing COVID. This man is vaccinated. He's touring very carefully. I see all the pictures. I see the videos. He's wearing his mask. But he, unfortunately, because there's a tiny percentage, you can still catch it, folks. And to the anti-vaxxers, this is the vaccine at work. You can't prove it more. Here's a man that's out and about and traveling, and he still could not catch it. Try as he might, till the 1,000th person was around him, and then a little bit of it slipped by. But the punchline is very mild symptoms, and he's here to talk to us about it. Tell us a little bit too of how fast you reacted, because you said you went into it with a strong immune system, but you took the monoclonal antibodies cocktail that all states I'm reading about are supporting. My governor is supporting it. Tell us a little bit about how fast from the time you had symptoms you took this stuff. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I did the cocktail thing on Friday after officially finding a test and diagnosing after about 3 days, and I would say it was about a week ago I started noticing something was off.
Yeah.
And then I was like, you know what, maybe I should get a test. And I got the test on Thursday. And then on Friday morning, my mom was like, go get the cocktail, the monoclonal. So I called University Health System here in New Orleans, and they have a clinic. And in fact, they've been texting me during this Zoom because they want me to talk to them about a few things.
Great.
But yeah, and I went and got it, and it was very interesting going into the clinic, seeing firsthand these doctors that have been working on it and fighting the good fight. They're all saying right now the numbers are very low and everything's dropped. They were going from working nonstop around the clock, giving people the infusions, literally 24/7.
Wow.
To like, he's like saying that we're just doing like 5 a day right now.
Okay, so it's
and then I said, well, it's just the fourth or fifth wave. He goes, there are no waves. This is a new virus and it's here, and we're all learning how to deal with it. Right. So I think, like, when I'm not all fired up and I'm just in a place of empathy, because what was it Aristotle or Plato? He said, belief is the lowest form of consciousness and empathy is the highest form of consciousness. You know, It was a very interesting quote that a friend of mine, and if you think of it in those terms, like, this is a new thing. We're all trying to figure it out. So everyone's going to have different reactions to it. And sure, if we try to remember some empathy, I'll have the empathy towards people I don't understand their position. Maybe it will help us find some common ground.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, again, I refer people, if you weren't here last week, I had a wonderful time talking to this young man last week. He self-described anti-vaxxer, vax denier, vax critic, any of those things he said he was fine with. And what I liked is that he was polite. He said his parts, and I really reminded him, which he was appreciative of, what you said, empathy, because I've always been empathetic to these folks. I want to hear what they're saying. They have some valid questions. What's mRNA? I've never heard of this. The problem I have, though, is when we give them answers and we show them that mRNA has 20-some, almost 30 years of history.
30 years of history.
30 years, you know, it's been tested where they're looking at lupus and sickle cell anemia, which affects predominantly people of African descent. They've looked at it for various cancers. They've looked at it for all kinds of neurological problems. Come on, folks. It's, you know, when you ask a question, you get the answer. You shouldn't, you know. So the monoclonal.
Well, that excites me. You know. It's exciting. Everything you just described. Because
the questions, yeah.
But the answers are, and all this stuff they're working on, it's just like my Hep C treatment.
Yeah.
Like it's new therapies that is figuring out how to do new forms of healing.
You're alive. You're alive right now.
I'm alive.
Because of a vaccine for your Hep C, right?
I mean, it wasn't a vaccine. It was an actual cure that took them forever to develop.
Yeah.
You know, which is fascinating. That they can have a thing go into the human body and say, no, virus, we're going to take away your food. That is gene therapy. I mean, there's all these new forms of things that seem really scary. And some of them are going to fuck up every now and then. Right. And yes, unfortunately, we all die. And we don't know when, but it's gonna get to Star Trek pretty soon, where they just fucking stick a thing next to your arm and everything, you're well again.
Next to your arm. Yeah, without even a needle. No, you're right. And no, you're hitting all the points, my brother. And I want to remind people, because I get people saying, you're all for Big Pharma. Both you and I wake up.
I'm not for Big Pharma.
Of course not. Both of you and I wake up and start our day. You start it with the right thing, which is the jogging and running and exercise. I got to get back to that. And I slowly am. But we both start with healthy things, some green tea, some coffee, some live fruit, some living fruit. And we spend the whole day eating the right things. You are right now taking, you always take vitamin C, multivitamin, right? But CoQ10, different things.
Yeah, I'll tell you everything I'm taking right. A lot of supplements. They're straight up not Big Pharma. They're big supplement. They're big supplement. I'm a fan of Big Pharma when it can help you. And I'm a fan of big supplement. And this is what I'm going to close on. You know, the monoclonal therapy is awesome. It's called Regeneron. It's basically antibodies you get put into your body that tell your immune system to kick in. I also I've been taking zinc and B2, like high grade zinc, the quercetin, a fucking liposomal C. I'm taking all these supplement things, and guess what? I haven't had a fever.
Right.
I don't have a cough. My wife is testing negative, and she's got more of a cough than me, and she's been testing negative for 5 days now. I'm sort of a little spacey because I haven't eaten lunch, but we're all just trying to fucking have a good life.
That's it. That's it, bro.
And here's what I was going to close on. Guess what? I haven't met a supplement fucking natural foods person yet that if they're having a heart attack, are they all really just going to fucking take some cayenne pepper or some niacin and hope that it calms it? No, they're going to fucking call 911, and Western medicine is going to send over their ambulance, and they're going to go get a fucking triple bypass, and they're going to live another 10 years because Western medicine is fucking awesome too. It's like, we got to bring it all together. We got to integrate it all. Right. Like, are you really not going to let a doctor save your life if all of a sudden you're fucking having a heart attack? You're big pharma. Okay.
No, it's true.
I gotta calm down. It just hurts.
No. Your passion is the bomb, bro. Apparently not, because you have Seventh-day Adventists. You have people who just refuse. I mean, Prince, one of our guiding lights.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I'm wrong. I can.
No. You're. I'm saying you're correct, and I condemn Prince. I love the man. We both know we couldn't say enough in adulation to Prince. But if he didn't go and get certain medical, Western medical, because of his Seventh-day Adventist stuff, wow, what a fucking double tragedy, right? To not have gotten blood transfusions and different things. You hear different things. I don't know the facts on Prince, but I know he has spoken out against. But if you're going to go that far, folks, that you can.
But yet he was on OxyContin because of his
There
pain.
you go.
That's the absurdity.
It's absurd. I know you're going to run. Let me ask, when's your next show? Because I know you have a show scheduled.
Well, I don't know when my next show is. I'm supposed to play in New Orleans tonight. We canceled that. Okay. I'm supposed to play tomorrow. I'm supposed to play 2 gigs tonight, 2 gigs tomorrow.
So you're
a gig Wednesday. We're just in a holding pattern right now.
Yeah. So you're in Denver in about 10 days, the 21st. At New Conscious, do you think you're back up and running in 10 days?
Oh, definitely. I think I'm going to be back up and running by Friday, because I think this Friday will be the latest. Maybe Saturday the latest. I'll at least get to play with Galactic, and hopefully my band is coming up. But we got a great thing called Megalomaniacs Ball going on Wednesday night that will happen, that the Iceman Specials headlining,
here
Empower,
in New Orleans,
right? A lot of great bands will be playing on it. So even if I'm not cleared medically to go play it, because guess what? I'm fine. I could be a lying motherfucker and just be like, I'm fine. I tested positive. I'm going to go play gigs. No, I ain't going to do that. I'm going to keep my mask on and hang low.
I've heard of people doing that. There are the dates, folks. I put the link to Mike Dillon Vibes. Mike is going to be back on the show because, he knows he's got an open invite here. And check out the dates. He's probably coming to your town because he's a touring maniac. He's always out, and I love it. And look at that. Just even in a couple weeks going into December, all around the West Coast and even, into Midwest a little bit, Kansas City and stuff, Chicago. A lot of dates coming up, and I know a lot of you are in these cities. Look for Mike. Support the independent musician. Check out his great quarantine trilogy, folks. He talked about it a little bit. We heard a little bit of Suitcase Man. The other 2 records are up there on his website. I'd love you to check those out and keep supporting this man. Let me just sweep real quick and make sure.
Play a tune. Play something. Play "Shoot the Moon" off of Suitcase Man.
I will.
That's got like 40 as our walkout music. That's got like 40 musicians, including Robbie Seahag playing a badass solo at the end of Suitcase of "Shoot the Moon." The end section goes to 11. There's a 20-person choir. It's on "Shoot the Moon."
Oh, I'm sorry. Which album is it on?
It's on "Shoot the Moon," and it's called "Shoot the Moon."
Shoot the Moon. Okay, let me roll.
It'll be a good walkout song.
Great. While I'm pulling that up, tell us a little bit about your favorite food on the road, Mike. We talked a little bit about food, but you and I have had some great meals on the road. Tell us what's kind of your go-to. Like you're like, there's a fill in the blank restaurant. What's one of your
There's a
favorite
Thai
cuisines?
restaurant.
Ah, see, I didn't want to say it, folks. This
Well,
man,
I started eating Thai food because you could always get decent veggie stuff there. That was the reason why.
exactly,
You know.
exactly. And so you and I have had some great Thai food, but I think you just said it right there. It's so easy to be vegetarian there, and right? So
Oh,
many
it's super
vegetables.
easy now. Back in the old days, it was just sort of like Subway veggie sandwich, veggies delight. I got really sick of those, man.
Easily. Oh, I'm sorry. Which song am I playing?
Or Taco Bell.
On Shoot the Moon, I'm hitting which one? Kool-Aid.
The song "Shoot the Moon."
Oh, the actual title track. Okay, so we'll hit that and we'll go out on that, folks.
I love you, brother. It's great seeing you.
Oh, love you too, bro. And folks,
always
again,
love the dialectic. You know, that's what this is, the dialectic.
It is, and I just love that so many good folks stopped by. We had folks over on YouTube. Jerome Parker Wells, thanks for stopping by. Jerome, check this man's catalog out. I hope you two get together because you're kindred spirits, and you probably have. We can draw a family tree from my man Jerome Parker Wells is on here. Mike, he's start playing, Jerome. Just. Let's just record. But Jerome has played with 1 million people also, Mike, and I think you guys, we could probably make a family tree with 2 people, and you have a connection. But he's on. Todd Reynolds is on YouTube. We got a bunch of people on all the platforms. Thank you so much for stopping by, folks.
Thanks for letting me rant.
Absolutely,
with you, buddy.
We're gonna close with one of his tracks. Again, Mike has a bunch of tour dates coming up. We're hoping he keeps feeling better. He's got his pandemic trilogy, he's calling it. He's got 3 records: Shoot the Moon, 1918, and Suitcase Man. All amazing records. Go support the independent musician and check them out. Here is the title track of Shoot the Moon, which features Robbie C. Hegmangano and a band of geniuses. Here we go. Shoot the Moon.
Yeah!
There we have it. The one and only Mike Dillon. And Mike had to run. He's got some other stuff going on. Wow. That was kind of 3-dimensional. We had the music of Mike Dillon, some of the politics of Mike Dillon. We had the story of Mike Dillon. Someone from the front lines. A musician touring, taking this chance, being really careful, being out there. We talked about it when he first started touring. I was like, really, dude? You're going to go out? He's like, I know, man. I got to pay some bills. And I respected it. And he was super careful. He had 2 masks on. He was doing these shows. He said, dude, I'm staying away from anybody. We get there, we set up, we get our food delivered or takeaway. We do not interact. And he's done it. He's done probably 150 shows or something since last year, and then got exposed to the virus. It happens. But what's really important, I hope, for people to take from this, especially my anti-vax friends, my denier friends, who I welcome. I've welcomed you on the show. Anyone wants to come on a future show, let's do it. Let's talk about this. But to those folks especially, I say, how about the balance of, yes, doing the immune stuff, eating well, eating a 99% plant-based diet, eating, great supplements every day. You heard the man list the things that he just takes years ago, before pandemic. He takes his zinc. He takes his liposomal C. He takes a good multi. He drinks green juices as much as he can. Wheatgrass, spirulina. This is, I don't know, this is how we can actually support our immune system. And that's one of the most important things going into this situation. Whether it's COVID or not, right? Why wouldn't you go into every day with an optimal immune system, right? Anyway, so I love that message from Mike, loud and clear. But I also love that when he has collided with COVID, what's the solution? And it is some of these frontline drugs. It is. I mean, when that idiot previous president got COVID, remember, he belittled it. He didn't act responsibly. He just doesn't know how to do that. But what did he do right away as soon as he got COVID? He had 24 doctors, right? So that there was a 24-hour cycle. He could have had a doctor per hour, right? But he had all these doctors, and he had the best care on earth. We're paying for it. And I'm happy to. I'm happy to have my tax dollars pay for my leaders to be healthy. I want it to also pay for every citizen to be healthy. Yes, that's called a socialist idea. Stop making it. Stop letting your drunk uncle make that a bad word. Okay, it works around the world. Obviously, we can look at bad examples of socialism in some movie or some caricature or some reality actually in previous decades or even recently in a place like Venezuela. That's socialism gone bad. That's socialism poisoned by corruption, by fascism, really, by dictatorship. That's really not a good example. It's funny too how right-wingers and MAGA people use the word socialism as an evil thing by bringing up really the same two countries all the time. You ever notice that? They always bring up Venezuela. They always bring up Cuba. They never talk about Australia. They never talk about the Netherlands. They never talk about the economic turnaround in Argentina or Chile. They never talk about Uruguay, Paraguay. They never talk about that. They never bring up the German system, the Icelandic system, right? They don't talk about the economics of Japan or South Korea or Nigeria or 6 other places in South America and Africa and Asia. Interesting, right? They skip over where socialism works, right? Where socialist ideas work. Right in Mexico, right in Canada. We're like a socialism sandwich. I'm going to make that a t-shirt. Let me write that down. America, the socialism sandwich. Canada here, socialist ideas. Right? 14 years of education, really good social safety net, the health care, the childhood attentiveness to the childhood healthiness and foods available to those in need in kindergarten and preschool and all that stuff. Taking care of our elderly. Same thing, socialism sandwich. You go to Mexico. Mexico for years had better public health care than the USA. We have caught up. Thank you, Obama. And we have some systems happening. But I mean, we got to wake up. We got to wake up that this is not a bad word. If we can pick and choose some things, good regulation of food, which is what I'm here to talk about. That's the umbrella item. We can pick and choose some of these ideas. And one of them is, where I started, that our tax dollars pay for our leaders to get really good health care. But also for the most low-wage person in the USA, who I'm not going to say what jobs, but, a lot of people don't work for much money. They may be janitorial staff somewhere. They may be kitchen staff. They may be working in our food and agriculture industry, not making much money. They should have health care. They should have health care. They're being taxed. They're getting money taken away from them, and they've agreed to that and all that. Taken away sounds kind of punitive, but they're getting money that they're paying into a system. We should get it back. To that point, coming back to Mike, the system works. He's a taxpayer in a state where that money in part goes to the basic pharmaceutical solutions to this horrible disease. The ones you can get first, as soon as you know you have COVID. Things like monoclonal cocktails. Things like dexamethasone, right? He talked about Regeneron. Things like ivermectin. That's available here in my state, North Carolina. Great. This confusing thing that the ivermectin people have that we've never heard of it and no one. Sure, it's fine. The human version, first of all, stop buying horse paste so that vets and everyone are having trouble getting it in some states. Get the human version, but stop saying it's a cure-all. That's your problem. Stop saying it's magic and it works anytime in the COVID kind of disease life cycle, which means, from day one till you're either cleared of it or you die. Somewhere in there, you can't use ivermectin. Everywhere in there, it's been shown to be ineffective. But it has been shown to be really effective in the very beginning, as is dexamethasone, as is Regeneron, as is hitting it really hard with also the natural things. If I caught COVID, and I hope I don't, I do everything not to, but I've got everything standing by. I've got my silver, my colloidal silver. I've got andrographis and other strong antiviral pro-immune system herbs. I take a lot of vitamin C anyway. I'm taking about, not a lot right now, 2,000 milligrams a day, something like that. So that's a lot more than a lot of people. A lot of people take 100 or 50 or something. If you look on your multi, there's almost nothing. Vitamin C is a joke unless you're into four figures, folks. Milligrams, 1,000 milligrams or a gram every day. That's just the beginning. We really should all be taking 5, 6, 7,000 a day. I know people that do therapeutic things, and they're taking 10 grams a day. Okay, certainly that's around the part where you might get some bowel intolerance, depending on the rest of your diet. Actually, I never get bowel intolerance from vitamin C, just because I'm eating a lot of raw food, a lot of plant-based food in the aggregate. But vitamin C is a cool way to find out, all right, I'm eating some stuff that doesn't digest well. Because anyway, but you can have vitamin C tolerance issues on the best diet. And it's usually somewhere around 7,000, 8,000 milligrams. Some people go as high as 10, 12, 15 before they get a reaction. But we need a lot of vitamin C, folks. That's why lemons, oranges, grapefruits, and other foods with C. A lot of green foods have C. Brussels sprouts, right? We had some roasted Brussels sprouts the other day. Roasting does remove some of the enzymes and the vitamins, but we often steam them and just briefly cooking them, leaving a lot of the vitamin C and other minerals and enzymes completely intact. So this whole show is about going more plant-based, which automatically is giving you a high vitamin diet, a high mineral diet. That's the beautiful part about natural foods and about plant-based food is you keep seeing these news items every few years. We need more bioflavonoids. We need more, polyphenols. We should be eating more fiber. Humans need more digestible iron or more vitamin D. We're not getting enough vitamin E, vitamin K, new problems cited in lacking vitamin K, right? This is what we're swimming in all the time, this kind of stuff. It's in plant-based food. Every one of those things. Eat green things. You're going to get your vitamin K. You're going to get your minerals. You're going to get your fiber. Eat good fats. Olives, olive oil, avocados, Brazil nuts, walnuts, pine nuts, pumpkin seeds. Oh my God, pumpkin seeds are incredible. Just add any of those things to your diet. Put them on a salad. And suddenly you're checking off the box on these things you keep hearing about. So that's, again, the beautiful reinforcing message from Mike is that those are all the kind of foods the man eats. So he's coming into this collision with COVID with a strong immune system, with the vaccine. So he didn't, right? The virus didn't have a chance to go full blown, as it is, and tragically, in so many unvaccinated people. How many more do we need to see on the news? Yes, vaccinated people are getting sick. They keep using that as some kind of a distraction. Yes, no one said we wouldn't. From day one of the vaccine, we were told it's 95% effective. give or take. I'm lumping together J&J, Moderna, and Pfizer. The number is somewhere there. Please, because someone's going to show me that, oh, well, they said 93.5. I'm just giving a ballpark area around 95%. And unfortunately, that number's dropping because of y'all unvaccinated people. Sorry, hurt feelings. But because of you providing a rich human petri dish for these this virus to experiment and try out new tricks. And some people are not vaccinated because of all kinds of things. Access. They have legitimate health reasons to not get one. They have no access to health care. Or in many countries around the world, many countries, no access even to the vaccine. So they have no choice. So, but Mike and many people who are vaccinated who have caught COVID but are doing fine and over it in a couple of days, Mike and those folks tell us a story here, folks, that the vaccine fucking works. We can hate it all day long, but the numbers stack up and they're clear. Everyone can catch the virus, but if you're not vaccinated, your odds are not really good that you're going to do well. Some of you will, of course. The healthiest, most robust, younger, unvaccinated people who catch this, yes, many of you survive. But every day on the news, we're seeing the deaths hitting younger people, the deaths increasing. We see these hotspots all around the USA where the vaccinated is low. So I don't know what else to say. Any responses that are welcome, though. Well, let's go back to any questions or anything like that. I'm going to wrap up right about at the hour. I'm super busy myself, too. But let's see if there's any questions and comments about that. And I've got one or two new food things to talk about because there's a couple new cool new bits of food news. Let's see. A couple comments from you. That was very cool. Someone says. Kevin Ritchie has a question. Great. I love questions. Kevin says, what comes under the umbrella of big pharma? Yeah, that's a great question. You know, any of those terms is a little fluid, of course, and it doesn't have hard edges. But I think it's fair to say J&J, Hoffman LaRoche, Ciba-Geigy, Merck, what's the company that makes Moderna? I forget the company, but big drug. Bayer, the German company that goes back with very, unfortunate connections in World War II. Bayer, any of those big companies. I'm probably forgetting a couple others, but the big companies that make aspirin and make all of our heart drugs and cancer drugs and all these kind of things. And then there's some smaller ones, but so big pharma would be all of them collectively. And unfortunately, they do all get together and pay a lot of money to Congress and congressional candidates. And they fund a lot of, it's one of the broken things in our system that there can be so much corporate funding without oversight, without really quantifying it as well as we should, without asking questions of these senators and House members that take this money and then end up voting to enable monopolies and enable all kinds of unregulated realities for these companies. So that's to me very easy to say what big pharma is. Of course, there's some edges on there. There's some edges of like, would you call Solgar big pharma? Solgar's a huge natural vitamins company. But they're lobbying, right? They're paying. I'm sure they give money to, I think they're from Long Island. I'm sure they give money to whoever the House members from Long Island are, or to Senator Schumer from New York, right? I'm sure they do. I'm sure right in my state here in North Carolina, Gaia, the big herbal company, I'm sure they've made their political donations. It's a huge, wonderful, amazing, plant-based, incredible company just 2 towns over that makes liquid herbal extracts, things for every situation humans deal with, but with a natural plant-based approach. So are they pharma? Not really. They're big natural. They're big supplement. And I just say that there's a crossover because they're also lobbying for, I'm sure a big company like that is happy when taxes go down. The difference is, though, in a lot of those companies, like a Gaia, like a Ben and Jerry's, like Amy's Natural, all these companies tend to be more on the accepting side that, we're bringing in tens of millions of dollars per year. We're paying our share also because we believe in that social contract. So I don't know. Hopefully that answers a bit of that question, Kevin. But it's the unregulated part that bugs me. I don't mind that we have large corporations to make airplanes and cars and pharmaceuticals. When you need 10 million doses or something, 100 million doses, who's going to do that? Well, there's no ma and pa situation where you can, we have corporations. It's part of where the path of history has led us. What are you going to do? What you are going to do, what we should do, is have them pay their fair share. It's not hard. It's not hard. And big corporations should include the Catholic Church Incorporated, right? The Southern Baptist Church of blah, 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 Incorporated. The Methodist Church of New York, Incorporated, right? The temples, the churches, every place of worship that there may be, I'm sorry, religious organizations should pay taxes as well. Sorry, we need a secular approach to that, in my opinion. Let's wrap up with a couple questions and then some food stuff. Brendan Casey, good to see you. Good to see you. And Kima, how are you, Kima? Kima's on YouTube. How are you, my friend? We should catch up, man. Way, way overdue, my brother. Way overdue. And Kima is saying, great conversation. Thank you. Yeah, Mike is the bomb. I mean, Mike, whenever he's in the room, I'm learning something about philosophy, about politics, about American history, and about music. I love the man. He's always reading, learning, moving, changing, creating. Amazing guy. So proud to have worked with him a bunch. So you're saying you agree with Mike, and yeah, write sketches at all times. Excuse me. Don't wait for I need some water. Don't wait for the moment, if possible. Yes, you're right, bro. And I've got a couple of those little cheap, little recording devices like Radio Shack, cheap dictaphone type thing. And I've pulled stuff back off and worked at it. That's what I'm not great at, going back and saying, hey, I've got 20 little notepad tracks. Let's go and sift through and oh, wow, that was cool. I remember that. Let me develop that to the next step. That's my missing part, bro. I've got a lot of ideas and snippets, but I'm really going to try to pledge to kind of sweep through stuff but yeah, making little recordings and finishing them, adding the other layers. Kima says, we're hitting on so many topics. Yes, thank you, bro. Chewing some ice in your ear, sorry. Make Weird Music is here. Hey, I'm thinking that's Anthony. How are you, man? Yes, Mike Dillon is amazing. I mean, I didn't even get to, I have a clip there of him playing with Primus. And I mean, actually, I'll play it real quick because the shit is badass. His new album is there. I'm just going to clear some of the things I have. But this is kind of cool. This is Mike with Primus. And I missed that tour. But Primus did the complete Willy Wonka album a few years ago. The whole Willy Wonka. But they did it as a 5-piece. So you have Primus, right? Guitar, bass, drums. They added a cellist and a vibes player, and a percussionist. And the percussionist was Mike. Let's just look. I had that queued up, but we ran out of time. But check this out. Here's Primus live with a little feature on Mike. So very cool. Just a little. The man is all over the musical map. So okay, I'm gonna make sure we didn't talk about lunch today, but some weeks I've been going into some other stuff here, man. It's it's all good because we have some other important stuff happening, right? We got some crazy other stuff happening, and one of them happens to be what we're going through. And again, I say it every couple weeks. It is intimately connected to excuse me, to what we're going through, right? The treatment of animals. The treatment of animals is somewhere in this mix. I mean, again, we can go round and round. The virus, did it come from the wet market? Did it go into a lab? I don't think it matters, because what we do know is the wet markets do spread all kinds of ailments, right? There's all kinds of outbreaks from those places all the time, right? Hantaviruses and E. coli strains that we never heard of, and salmonella strains that keep moving around. And it's not just the wet markets, it's the American animal slaughter industry also, right? Mad cow disease, folks. Mad cow disease, which really hasn't gone away. I mean, they do a lot of things to animal flesh now that you don't want to know. A lot of it's irradiated, right? A lot of it, they do everything they can to kind of suppress this prion, this, I don't even want to call it organism, is this unknown entity that causes mad cow. But Google some of this stuff. There's mad deer in horrific numbers still going on in the USA. In other words, this wasting disease where these deer just die and fall over and catch it from each other. So we've got a lot of problems that we've helped create because of the way we're treating the environment as a whole, but animals as components of that environment. We are a nightmare, humans. We're a nightmare. There, I said it. Someone's going to say I'm misanthropic or something. Say what you will. I'm a realist. We're a fucking nightmare. The stuff we're doing to this planet. It's embarrassing to be on this team sometimes. But we also have very big brains, and we can idealize a better result. We can conceptualize problem solving, and we can get to it. So I stay positive all the time that we'll just keep coming up with solutions. We'll keep coming up with things that we could do to undo our bullshit, whether it's bullshit we've done for a few years or decades or centuries. So that's what we're talking about. Okay, in wrapping up, let me go to the comments again. So Derek is saying, lots of love for Bandcamp. Yes, thank you, bro. You're right. You're right. Sharon says, lots of styles overlapping. I know. Mike Dillon, I don't think there's a style I've heard him not do. I mean, he's the whole jazz respect, his respect for Milt Jackson, his respect for Gary Burton and all the great vibes players, his respect for all the other non-vibes jazz people. Him and I have driven down the highway listening to Mingus, listening to Charlie Christian, listening to Charlie Parker, listening to Branford or Lewis Cole or somebody, Herbie Hancock. Doesn't matter the decade. We've talked about all these jazz greats, all the fusion greats. We've listened to tons of Weather Report. But we've also been in the van listening to Public Enemy or The Clash. We've been listening to Kendrick Lamar or Ricky Lee Jones. I've been on tour with him when he's getting ready to go tour with her, so he's checking out the music. There ain't a style of music that we don't sit around listening to. Frank Zappa, Deerhoof, you name it, Prince. Really some amazing times in the van with that man, from Funkadelic to, some heavy metal. So you're right, lots of different styles. Derek says, yeah, okay, you're right, Derek, about the ex-president. You're right. We don't know if he really got it. I know, we'll never know. You don't believe it. It's true. It's tough to tell. Derek, also, great point that I've been trying to make too. Mike got COVID. He caught COVID. But his symptoms were mild. He says he only lost his sense of smell. Otherwise, healthy. He's in tip-top shape at 56. He's lean. He runs several miles a day. He eats right. He takes care of himself. He's been doing that for decades now. He's recovering heroin addict, as he freely speaks about it all the time. So he knows how precious life is. He knows how close to the edge you can get. So he also knows, though, that, hey, man, I was sitting somewhere that I don't even remember, grabbing a needle, putting it in my arm. A dirty needle. The man is openly telling us he got Hep C. So this whole notion of I don't know what's in it and we can't trust it. I think one of the things, and he said this, I'm just quoting Mike, one of the things that drives him, he's like, man, I used to put all kinds of shit in my body. I used to put all kinds of shit. Nobody knows what's in that little glassy bag. It's some white powder, but you don't know which motherfucker cut it with what. And that's what's funny. I hear a few natural foods people that say, I don't know what's in it. But the vast majority of people critiquing this are eating a hot dog and drinking a Diet Mountain Dew while they're texting you about, we don't know what's in it. They're eating mainstream chicken with dozens of hormones, steroids, antibiotics, colorings, flavorings, injected into that chicken. They're eating that while they're telling you, I don't trust what's in the vaccine. I don't trust it. It's experimental. Really? Experimental. Half the stuff in your turkey sandwich is experimental, my friend. Half of it is. The stuff that they're allowed to put in the dough conditioners that we've never seen what happens for humans eating them for decades, because some of them are brand new. They keep adding these things. The colors. Again, the drugs that are in that turkey breast. Some of them they just started using last year because the pathogens keep coming back. They got to put stronger and stronger things, stronger and stronger antibiotics, newer antibiotics. Go look this up. I'm talking reality here. I want to talk about experimental. Go through that turkey sandwich. Look at the butter. Look at the mayonnaise. Go look up the fats that are in there. You want to talk about experimental. Wow. It's amazing, folks. So, I don't know. We got shit all the way upside down. Okay, let's again see if you got any comments. Derek does not believe it even happened. Yeah, thank you. Roger Sherman is checking in from the top side of the earth. Who's to say Australia's not on the top? Right? Ever think about that? There's no top or bottom in space. That is completely arbitrary. And there's a long story on why we think that's the top. But good to hear you from the other side of the planet, my brother. We're going into the fall. They're going to the spring. So their weather is changing as well. Roger says that people are rolling up, getting their vaccines in Australia. The numbers are going up. But here's the difference. They're doing it with low cases. Lower deaths, lower cases. It's a great place to be starting, as many countries are. Roger says we're on the side. Yeah, not the bottom or the top, but the side. That works. Celine says Mayo is the worst condiment. The way you buy it off the shelf now, yes. But if you were to get it and make it from scratch, if you're in the middle of France, organic, fresh eggs that are a day, 2, 3, a week old, lemon juice, vinegar, salt, all the things that are in a classic, fresh made mayo. Okay, fine, whatever. But yes, I'm agreeing with you that the way it is on the shelf, it's an industrialized product, and it's a nightmare. Every once in a while, we get a real clean, natural, plant-based mayo. There's some really wonderful ones out there. There's one called Just Mayo that's great, and there's been one called Mayonnaise for decades that's pretty good. But those are still on the shelf. I'm not saying that those are ultimate foods or something, but they're far, far better, especially if you get them fresh and it's refrigerated and all that. But, yeah, just another things there. Milt Jackson is the first Fives player. Yeah, absolutely. Tortoise. Yeah, Tortoise is another one that uses that vibe sound a lot. Let's, we're riffing here and y'all are enjoying the music. I'm going to play another little clip here that of Mike Dillon live. And this one What year was this? 2014? Jeez. Yeah, 2014. And I was very proud. This is one of the tours I did with Mike Dillon. This is also with Claude Coleman Jr. from Ween. So check this out. This gives you another side of Mike. It's kind of the heavier rock and roll vibe. So let's listen to a little bit of this.
Y'all doing barefoot? Yeah!
Yeah, good times. I gotta find someone. I think filmed that whole show, which I gotta find that sometime because so rare to get. That was like I don't know. What did you count? 4 or 5 shots there. That was a good, pretty pro. Pretty pro shot there, and the sound's not bad. Mike Dillon Band live. There we go, folks. And I did about 3 tours with Mike so far, anywhere from a week to 10, 12 days, and then we did, and this one was with Claude Coleman Jr. As I said, and Nathan on bass. So that was just a fun little run. No, sorry, that's not Nathan. I'm forgetting the bass player's name. Damn it. But anyway, cool little clip there, and I put the link to the clip in the comments, so you can check that out. Great video, great sound, and you know, again, Claude just got off the road with Ween. They just did 3 nights in Vegas. So Claude Coleman Jr., my dear friend, also in that group. Let's see. Okay, great. If you have no closing comments or questions, this is a wonderful place to end. Make Weird Music is saying, "Oh, great, yeah, you okay, yeah, you he was on the road with Ricky Lee and Robbie Seahag, of course, right? When do we get one of the Primus guys? I know, let's do that. It's just a matter of making some context. I've hung out with Herb a bunch, and Herb would be the one to invite, because he knows where all the bodies are buried. That's a good one. But I think Les seems pretty swamped with interviews, but getting Herb or Lair is something to think about. I like that idea, because that is definitely some weird music. Experimental turkey, yes, right? And yes, I concur. European eggs are hugely different. You know, I've been vegan most of my 37 years that I stopped eating flesh, and at the same time stopped eating really anything junky. I never really ate junky food, thanks to my parents. Pure love to my dearly departed parents. But I love them because we ate really well. You know, my mom cooked vegetables, gave us fruit. I didn't have a sweet tooth as a kid for candy and junk food and all that. I'm very lucky. So I hit the ground running at 18 or 19 when I started conceptualizing the idea that there's natural food or not natural food, or adulterated food, whatever people want to argue. Because you have that funny thread of people who argue stuff like, you know, everything's natural because it's on the earth. Okay, technically, yes. You have people who argue that gasoline is natural because it's only made of things that are in the earth. I mean, that is so disingenuous. You know, yes, of course it is. But would you want to drink a glass of gasoline or a glass of freshly pressed apple juice? They're both natural. They both came from planet Earth. Really? You're going to, stop being a jackass. But people do argue from the position of jackass often. It's one of the first go-to things in arguing. So yes, everything's natural, but you know what I mean. Things that are left alone, unadulterated. And even on that level, there are poisons that are unadulterated, right? There's mushrooms I wouldn't eat and you shouldn't eat because you'll die. And they're completely natural. So just making sure that people understand that when we use those words. But it's drastically different, to follow up on Anthony's comment there. Drastically different when you go to these other countries. The laws governing what can be fed to a chicken, how much space a chicken needs to live in the cage, the drugs you can use on a chicken, the things you need to do if your flock of chickens has an outbreak of, at worst, some sort of avian flu, but any kind of thing. Vastly different. You might as well be on a different planet when you look at the USA laws and even the Canadian laws. I say even because right next door, you look at even the Mexican laws. Again, proximity. Drastically different. For years, folks, you couldn't get American chicken and beef in a vast part, in vast regions of the world. Yes. Why? Because other countries have stricter laws. They don't want our chicken. They didn't want the collectively dozens, steroids, antibiotics, growth hormones that we shoot these animals full of. You got to wake up and understand that. You got to, if you have it in your budget, I strongly urge you, just spend a little more. Just go get grass-fed lamb if you so choose to be eating lamb. I wish you wouldn't. I wish we saved the lives of these beautiful, loving, compassionate animals. But I'm here to help you just think about the idea of one day a week meatless, okay? But of course, I'd like you to expand that. But I also would like you to raise the quality. If you're going to eat chicken, there is organic chicken, folks. There's chicken that's tested repeatedly for strains of its disease. You know, I'm talking about when they're live, and they're either culled, which is unfortunate, or they're just kept healthier in the first place. Just like humans, if you had these animals with better immune systems and better spacing, social distancing, right? It works. Social distancing of pigs means the pigs won't get as sick. It's not hard, but when you cram them together in these pens that they can barely move, right? There was just a law that got changed in California about that. But when you cram them, and when you cram them on top of other ones, so they're living in their own feces, they're living in their own disease, they're cannibalizing each other, they're gnawing on their own limbs in agony. This is all reality if you watch these videos of slaughterhouses. When you do this to animals, cram them together, thousands of cows in a tight warehouse, standing on concrete, getting sores, getting infections, pus on the floor, blood on the floor, urine and feces on the floor. When you do that to animals, you suppress their immune system, so then they get sick more, so you have to give them more antibiotics, and the cycle keeps going, and then we're eating that? Wow. You know, there's been many articles about why did the USA do so badly in COVID? And we did. We did the absolute worst when you weigh our numbers against our position in planet Earth, okay? Listen to me carefully there. When you approach it from we're supposed to be the greatest on Earth, when you approach it from what our modernity is, right? When you look at the amount of hospitals and where our healthcare is, despite being a battered, fucked up thing, it's pretty good on a world stage. We're pretty good on hygiene and turning on taps in a lot of the country, not Flint, not a lot of places. We're pretty good though. We're somewhere in the average, above the average of all these things, and of our knowledge of epidemiology and of our public health regime that we have federally and statewide. When you look at all of that, and then you look at how absolutely dog shit we have let these numbers become. And I mean the cases, right? Where are we now? 1,500, 2,000 a day, something like that. When you look at the cases, the deaths, the people with long COVID, it's staggering for how great we are, you know? It makes us the worst because we're supposedly the best, you know, but our numbers are absolutely opposite. I'm just pulling up some numbers for today. I don't know what the numbers are recently. I haven't looked lately. We're running 45 million cases right now, 734,000 deaths. I'm looking at Worldometers, which has been great and well vetted for a year and a half now. Worldometers.info is great for global info. You can go right away and see what the numbers are in Senegal, see what the numbers are in Paraguay, in Russia, in whatever, Liechtenstein, you know, Ireland, Nigeria, you name it. They're all up there. And here's what's important too to look at in the USA, and this is again the people who scoffing don't. We've 2% of the cases have died. 2%, and you hear that a lot from these deniers. It's only 2%, bro. It's only 2%. First of all, half the people saying that couldn't take you through a mathematical set of questions like, "Hey, what is 2% expressed as a decimal?" Forget it. They're Googling, they're looking up, they're confused. But 2% is 734,000 deaths. That's horrible, right, folks? Horrible. And that's only at 35 million cases. And I say only because we have 330 million people. So we're just over 1 in 10 having cases. Point being, if we let this grind on and on and on, right? And we have really bad case numbers per day right now. They're close to what they were in March. Yes, they're plateauing and slowly coming down. I love it. I need it. I need to work. But if we take this 2% thing way out to its conclusion, what's 2% of 330 million, right? Well, 1% is 3.3 million. So 2%, 6.6 million. Just some ballpark numbers there, folks. Are you ready for 6.6 million dead Americans or something on the order of that? Because that's what the deniers are shrugging. I'm serious. If I have a denier here, talk me out of that. That's what those of you who just say, it's 2%. Actually, most of you don't. You say like 1% or something. But 2% is the reality. That's what we've been tracking for a year and a half now. So that's good numbers. Talk to me about that. How do you sweep aside and say, 6.6 million people are going to die, so that I can not tell others that I have COVID and go to the show anyway? Or, there's a lot of questions here that if you want to make a choice, I'm all for freedom. You want to make a choice, no problem. Make that choice. Say, I don't want to have this vaccine. Okay, make that choice. But please, please consider the other 98% of us. Please, please do that. Wear the mask. Come hanging around other people, your family, friends in public. Please, do what you're doing. Believe in what you're doing. Ignore the overwhelming mathematics. That's fine. It's up to you. But maybe just give us that one little bit of respect and say, you know what? Since I'm not totally sure what my status is, I will wear a mask and I'll tell people around me. I've got some friends right now unvaxxed and not telling people that they're around that they're not vaxxed. That's fucked up. Anthony, yes, that was Andre and guitar. Thank you. I'm glad you were there to see that. One of the few times I've put myself up on video, but I need to do more of that one day. There's a lot of it that exists. Brendan Casey, yes, that's a very cool song. Distortion and wah pedal on Vibes. You are correct. So Mike, I put the link. I think I put the link to that song in. Yeah, I did. It's in the chat. It's not in the YouTube chat. Brendan Casey, I'll put it there. But if you just, I'll put it in the chat. But that is Mike's touring band that I was fortunate to be part of. And Mike's setup, you can see it in the videos. Indeed, he puts his vibes, he has them all electrified. He's got pickups. And he puts his vibes through a whole pedal board. Same kind of a pedal board that a guitarist would have, or anyone, right? Bass player, cello player, violinist, whatever. But, a little pedal board with... he's got kind of a filter envelope. He's got a few distortion pedals, echo pedals, chorus pedals, fuzz boxes. He's got it all on the ground there. I think he's got a ring mod, and so yeah, he's kind of doing that thing that electric instruments often do. So you're right, you heard correctly. Your ears were correct. Let's see some closing questions. Thank you, Derek. I'm glad you were here. Patrice is here. Hey, Patrice, how you doing? Teaching on Wednesdays. Wish you could join it. Okay. Well, thanks for being here for just a minute. Let's see. Just making sure I'm hitting my YouTube people as well. Let's see, running out of power here. Oops. Okay, YouTube. Well, thank you. Thank you for checking that out. Okay, great. Celine says, yeah, wasabi is great. Yes, I love wasabi. You grabbed extra without realizing. Yeah, wasabi will clear your sinuses, right? Let's see. Sharon says, so Ween Mullis tour. Yeah, Ween is amazing. Derek, thank you, Derek. Thank you. Derek had fun today. you were watching on both platforms, 2 platforms, well, you're a glutton for punishment then. But yeah, pigs and chickens can be cute. Yes, factory farming treats animals like machines. Absolutely, like just meat sources. And no concept that they're living beings. And someone's going to say, you don't know if broccoli is a living being. Well, yes, it is living. Its consciousness is something we can discuss. But you know what? It's sustainability as a food source is really what it comes down to. Even if they're screaming in agony, we have to approach it from that way, I think. Let's see. Yeah, Rooster. Okay, great. Mumbo's here. What's up, dude? Mumbo's here. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna wrap. Did you see William Shatner is going to space, right? And I bring him up because longtime vegetarian and longtime animal rights person. He's always, he's always talking about animals throughout the years, and there's some great interviews with him through the years. I think maybe he added fish in, as a lot of people do. Fish is great. Fish is a great source of omega-3 fats, a really balanced source of omega-3, 6, 9, but especially the 3 omegas and alpha-linoleic acid and all these great fats are in fish. Undoubtedly, you can get all those fats from something else, from the sea. Algae, blue-green algae like spirulina, freshwater algae as well. And they're finding these new sea vegetables. There's a new kind of a sea grass that they're harvesting the seeds of. And I'll talk about that sometime. This is kind of new. This is a grass that grows everywhere on Earth on the shoreline. So very easy to harvest and cultivate. But there's a seed in this seagrass that they're just finding as they test it. Has great protein, great omega fat balance, all kinds of other antioxidants and things, minerals, because it's growing in seawater. So exciting things. There's all kinds of great foods that you don't have to support this crazy industrial machine, slaughtering animals and doing so inefficiently. But a couple little things. So I just want to shout out to William Shatner, who so many of us fell in love with space watching that show. So many important things about Star Trek, right? Seeing Uhuru on there, man. Seeing Sulu on there. Hey, when you're growing up and you're seeing different people in a situation, encouraging, right? Because the real world wasn't necessarily like that. But Shatner, again, tying it back to this, has always been this great outspoken person about vegetarian diet, about animals, and so he's going into space. One of the other things I wanted to point out, I love pointing out some of these new products, and yes, they're from a company, and yes, it's capitalism and blah, blah, whatever. We live in a capitalist society. Let's support better things, is my view. On that note, one of the big companies that keeps developing plant-based ideas. Wow, I might run out and get some of this right now. I might go get some of this for later on. I mean, I love that umami of feta, the kind of, almost, for want of a better description, it's almost a chalky consistency, but it's also the fat profile in feta is brilliant. The saltiness, how it crumbles. It's a wonderful thing that no one, these foods are great foods. It's just that once you start getting into what's in them and how much of them we overeat, that's the real issue. But feta cheese, wow. And folks, I'm vegan, but as I've always said, if I'm in Tel Aviv, if I'm in, where have I been in Turkey? Istanbul or Eskişehir, Turkey, or I'm in Bydgoszcz, Poland, or any of these exotic places, and they say, hey, we have some cheese. It comes from my uncle's farm 5 miles from here. The goats, they've never had a drug. They're eating grass. Please try this. It's homemade. What am I going to do? Yeah, have a little piece. Check it out. it's the most glorious tasting food because it's fresh, unadulterated, natural. So I'm a qualitarian, number one. I'm a qualitarian. I want people to seek higher quality, which means organic food, which means non-GMO food, which means food grown in your backyard or local farm market if you have that, if you're so fortunate to have that. And then outwards from there, if you're going to get things made from a company, made in a factory, which, look, it's part of natural, it's part of modern life. If you're going to have some things like that, olive oil that's made far away, salt that's mined far away, right? If you're going to eat tempeh or seitan that's made far away, of course, we all do. Then you try to find things with good ingredients. To that note, I salute Trader Joe's, who continually keeps adding amazing stuff. Now they have a feta cheese. There you see it with the salad. And it's in the brine, which, I mean, you're messing around if it wasn't. I am going to go get some of this. And, the vegan cheese explosion has been incredible. New York Times is writing about it. Gourmet magazine's writing about it. If you're sneering right now going, oh, I eat real cheese, well, have fun, but you've missed the boat because it's not 1988 with that rubbery tofuti or those kind of things. Vegan cheese has reached a revolution. It's beyond revolution at this point. When you have these mainstream chefs, these major chefs, Gordon Ramsay, talking about dairy alternatives. It's not a joke anymore. What? You're a better cook than Gordon Ramsay? He's starting to use this stuff. So look at this. Follow Your Heart has a feta crumbles. I did not know that. I didn't know this company does either. That's huge when Boursin is doing a vegan. It's all about demand, folks. People are trying it, tasting it. It's awesome, and they want to have more of it. So was it Gourmet Magazine did a thing recently on vegan cheese? One of those magazines did a cover story on that. I forget what it was. I can't find it right now. But oh yeah, it was Veg News. Yeah, it was Veg News, and it's a recent issue of Veg News. I think one of their they also have a magazine, Veg News, and they had a cover story just the other day. And the New York Times has done a thing on this. I'll put this article in the chat because we're ending on a cheesy note. But, I mean, Daya cheeses. There's 6 pizzerias here in town where I could take you right now, order the New York pie, and you're not going to know. I'm serious. I did this the other day. We had friends visiting, and my one friend said, dude, during the pandemic, I've eaten pizza almost every day. And he was like, it's just my comfort food. And he went to different pizzerias. This is someone who lives near New York, so he knows New York pizza. And we went to a place, and him and his wife got a cheese pizza, mozzarella, like I have a natural mozzarella. And we got the Daya cheese. And he tried a slice or two, and he said, dude, are you kidding me? He had it right side by side with the New York-style mozzarella cheese. And it's there. So the fat profile is there, the taste, the melting, everything's there. All of the all in a natural way. These are cheeses made of things like potato starch, coconut oil, cashew meal, almond meal, garlic, spices, herbs, things like that are in there. Sea salt, olive oil, olive fat, just things that are easy to find, plant-based, and a culture is often in there, especially in the blue cheeses. So it's there, folks. If you just look for the better brands. I'll put this article in the chat too. Look at this. This is the New York Times. New York Times calling vegan cheeses compelling and saying that cheesemakers are pushing the boundaries. I mean, New York Times, folks, they're not going to budge on they don't fool around with their reputation of haute cuisine and kind of being serious about food. Talking to Michelin chefs and going to the best restaurants in the world and reviewing. So vegan cheese has made that journey. I mean, again, artisans, chefs. Look at all these companies doing really bespoke cheeses. This is one of these guys. That's one of the developers. But I'll put this in the link. But you're getting these fantastic. Is that Miyoko? Yeah, Miyoko Shinner. She's a hero. And her products are in supermarkets. Never mind Whole Foods and Walmart and the big chains, Target. She's in every little health food store. Miyoko has a butter that's incredible, a couple cream cheeses that are incredible. Her feta cheese is great. So, look, cheese is just something made from a type of fat. Usually it's milk fat, but there's cashew fat, there's almond fat, there's coconut fat. It's important to also remember, as I've pointed out many times on this show, that this goes back into the 1300s, 1400s, where they used almonds, they used almond milk, they used these substitutes. These are some other guys with the company, Aaron Bullock and Ian Martin, Misha's Kind Foods. They're doing a plant-based ricotta, as some people say, but we say ricotta if you live in New Jersey. And there's a vegan cream cheese. That's the other beautiful thing in the plant-based world. A lot of people of color, Latino, Latina, Latinx, Hispanic people, Asian people. We just saw Miyoko. We see these guys. All kinds of people now are getting on board, right? Black Rican vegan. I've pointed her out. Black Puerto Rican vegan woman in New York City blowing it up. She can't make enough food at her food truck. It's Puerto Rican traditional food, Puerto Rican traditional food, Puerto Rican, but plant-based. By the way, in the background of those guys, is that a little tiny jazz chorus amp? This suddenly got twice as interesting. But so anyway, folks, I'm going to put this article in the chat. Really cool. And you can read about this anywhere. It's a phenomenon. It's just, everywhere we look. And you can make vegan cheese at home if you're kind of the person who says, well, I don't want to buy anything made from someone else. That's okay. But I've made a lot of different things. I don't think I did. I made a cashew cheese when I was doing 100% raw foods. I made tofu from scratch. I've never made tempeh. I've made a few different things from scratch. I've made bread from scratch, of course. I've made, seitan, wheat gluten. I've made that from scratch. So it's fun. There is a lot of great recipes out there for, making cheeses from scratch. Here's a surprise. I didn't know this. I just learned this as I'm looking for other stuff for y'all. Cadbury, the English chocolate brand, now has a full plant-based bar, meaning it's a vegan milk source, right? Like an almond milk or cashew milk, whatever they're using, rice milk. But looks like this one's made of almonds. But wow, that's just crazy. Cadbury. But we know this. There's a Hershey vegan bar. There's, vegan bars are old hat. I mean, they go back a quarter century. In the health food stores, natural food stores, we had many brands of incredible chocolates. Chocolate's really easy to do vegan, folks. But it's when these companies finally catch up. And Cadbury's being a little humorous about it. Look, they wrote a letter. Sorry, dear plant-based Britain, we're sorry. Sorry it's taking this long. Sorry it seemed like we weren't listening to your calls. Sorry for not being able to respond to the rumors. Rumors spelled correctly with a U. And sorry for all the other chocolate you've had to eat while you've waited. We simply wanted it to be perfect. And, just as with plants, perfection takes time. But the Cadbury Plant Bar is finally ready. It's made with almonds, a delicious smooth chocolate without the glass in half. We hope you'll agree it was worth the wait. Apologetically yours, Cadbury. So there you have it. The the Cadbury chocolate is now here. Wow. How about that? There we have it. We're going to close on that note with some always exciting new stuff being added to the, but my message is always the same. Most of our food, let's have it be fruits, vegetables, greens, nuts, seeds, dates, pickled food, right? I've been trying to eat a lot better because I'm going on tour in 3 weeks. So yeah, that bag of chips that I have once in a while, get rid of it. I'm doing a little bit of exercise. I need to really up that because I need to get in a little bit more training shape. But I'm doing the food look and kind of saying you're not eating enough fruit. So I've been trying to eat an apple a day. I had 2 the other day. Eating some pears. We got mangoes. And I always eat a pretty good diet. I'm just going to bring it up to optimal now, which means greens every day. And I've been having kale the last couple of days, steamed, a little bit of raw kale. I'm going to have a salad right now with some arugula, some sauerkraut. I've got some roasted vegetables, some roasted Brussels sprouts, potatoes, and carrots that I roasted the other day. Putting that all together. I think I have a little bit of steamed kale left. But I'm just trying to stay there, folks. Just stuff you make at home. And look, we all go out once in a while. We don't really. We never go out to eat. A couple times a year, tops. Never in this for 2 years now. But folks that do, yeah, you go out, you order some food. But if you can make most of it something you're controlling, that's what we're looking for. Just most. Don't kill yourself if you had a donut or something like that. But it's about what you're doing most of the time. Okay? So just that's always the message. To especially these days when we need to keep our immune systems high. I will talk to you all soon. Been a little bit of a mixed detour from food the last 2 weeks. A little bit of food, a little bit of the current issues of struggling with this outbreak. But I think we've had some great comments from all y'all, but some great insights from our guests on both sides of the spectrum. Last week we had the young man who, no vax for him, no vax for his daughter, and he had some real criticisms of stuff. We went through it. I'm not going to rehash it here. I invite you to just look at it. If you're on YouTube, it's right there from last week. If you're on Facebook, it's right there, 2 or 3 posts down from last week. You don't have to watch the whole thing. Drop the needle in a few spots and get the flavor. But I like that I had a chance to give a forum to that other side, to the people passing around these videos, saying some stuff that is often unsubstantiated. It's okay to have that other view, but can you get a little more substantiation, which I've always want to hear that. So I invite you to put those links in the chat if you disagree with me and you say, well, here's evidence of this or that, and let's be honest about the sources we're talking about. So, all right, we will talk to you all sometime soon. Thank you so much. Stay meatless just once a week, and then twice, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times if you can.